Chapter 543. Hearing Shun Miao's name, Princess Mingyan was first surprised for a moment before her eyebrows raised and her tone involuntarily became heavy. What is going on? Hurry and tell this Empress. Xie Chongqiao raised his head and looked at Princess Mingyan with some surprise. Does your Princess Highness remember that in the academy examinations of Mingqi, 5th Shen young lady came out on top in archery? Princess Mingyan's expression became more and more gloomy. When Xie Chongqiao said that, it made her think of how ugly she was when she competed with Shan Miao at the tribute banquet, and could not wait to tear Shan Miao apart. When Kai Lin left the stage, my second older brother wanted to challenge 5th Shen young Mississippi. If it was my second older brother, he would definitely be able to defeat 5th Shen young lady, but at this time my eldest brother rushed out to protect Shen young lady and replace her. Xie Chongqiao said. He would always remember that time when he wanted to help Kai Lin vent his anger and rope in Kai Darren, but who knew that Xie Jingxing would suddenly jump out? Even though Xie Jingxing looked romantic on the surface, when did he take the initiative to help a young lady out of trouble? Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao almost determined at that time that Xie Jingxing had some other intentions towards Shan Miao. Otherwise, why would he help Shan Miao out of trouble? It was because of Xie Jingxing's appearance that the two brothers were utterly defeated by Xie Jingxing in the academy examinations, almost becoming a joke, and it became a grievance that Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao could not let go of in their lifetime. I see. Hearing that, Princess Mingyan sneered. It seems that Xie Jingxing is not a good person. Since he is in cahoots with that slut, he deserves to die and die happily. Xie Chongqiao's and Xie Chongwu's eyes flashed with joy. As long as they could smear Xie Jingxing's name, they would be very happy in their hearts when they heard someone say that Xie Jingxing was not good, as if they were able to express the dissatisfaction in their hearts. That Shan Miao is also an eyesore to Bengong. If not for older brother's protection, Bengong would not be able to make a move. She would have died 8 to 10 times over. Princess Mingyan was somewhat irritated. That day in the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace, Prince Rui's words kept reverberating in Princess Mingyan's ears. I also want such a good girl. She was insanely jealous, and with the new and old hatred added together, she could not wait to tear Shan Miao's body into 10,000 pieces. However, she was grounded by Huang Fu Hao. Even if she went out, she would be followed by Huang Fu Hao's guards, unable to do anything. Now that Xie Chongqiao mentioned Shan Miao, those vicious emotions started to grow in his heart. Princess Mingyan had been arrogant for a lifetime, and there was nothing that she could not obtain. Now that Shan Miao had become a stone blocking her path, there was no reason for her to stay. Her heart suddenly moved and looked towards Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao. Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao were kneeling on the ground. If Princess Mingyan did not allow them to get up, they would not be able to get up. He had been very obedient the entire day. It was as if he would obediently carry out any order given to him. She suddenly smiled. Princess Mingyan picked up a piece of pastry and carefully looked at the exquisite patterns on the pastry. Xie Chongwu, Xie Chongqiao. You have followed Prince Ding for a few years, so why are you still running errands now? Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao paused, as they did not expect that Princess Mingyan would suddenly make things difficult for them. But Princess Mingyan's words seemed to have poked the sore spot of both of them. One had to know that 2 years ago they had secretly helped Fu Xiaoyi to do some unimportant things. For example, now, they were no different from those servants in the palace, and had to please a princess. The reason why they were not valued by Fu Xiaoyi in their eyes, naturally had nothing to do with themselves. Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao considered themselves to be outstanding in both literature and martial arts, and the reason why they could not stand out till now was because of the title of a Shu son. Princess Mingyan's words were filled with ridicule, and even though they did not speak, their faces could not help but reveal some anger. Chapter 544. Princess Mingyan said, "Both of you want to be promoted, right? Want to be brought along by Prince Ding's side and be valued by him? Want to have a meteoric rise one day, and do not need to carry the insulting name of a Shu son?" The two Xie brothers did not speak. Bengong has a way to let both of you get what you wish for, Princess Mingyan said unhurriedly. Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao looked at one another before bowing at the same time, begging your Princess Highness to enlighten. That is Bengong. Princess Mingyan smiled. Bengong is the princess of the Qin country, and now Prince Ding has a request for my Crown Prince older brother. That is why both of you are here to please me. If Ben Gong were to put in a few good words for you in front of the Crown Prince older brother, and let the Crown Prince older brother and Prince Ding succeed, Prince Ding would also remember both of your contributions. She looked at her nails that were painted with nail polish. Isn't it because of this that the both of you have been trying to please Ben Gong these days? Xie Chongqiao and Xie Chongwu did not speak. Generally speaking it was so, but they were sent here to make Princess Mingyan happy, and from the beginning they did not hold the thought that Princess Mingyan would put in a good word for them. One knew that Princess Mingyan was domineering and condescending, and it was a good thing that she did not vent her anger on them, so how would they dare to have the thought of gaining her favor? Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao were not fools, and knew that Princess Mingyan suddenly mentioned this matter. There must be some exchange conditions, thus they did not speak for a moment. Seeing that both of them did not speak, Princess Mingyan was somewhat unable to hold back and said it herself. She said, "It is just Ben Gong's words, but how many people would not be able to beg for it? Both of you are not related to Ben Gong, and for Ben Gong to speak up for you without rhyme or reason, naturally there must be some compensation." These words could not be said anymore, so Xie Chongwu said, "May your Princess Highness instruct." "You also know." Princess Mingyan raised her little nails and said, "Ben Gong has always been very benevolent, and in Mingqi have the idea of being kind to others, but there are always some sluts who do not have eyes that want to provoke Ben Gong." Her voice suddenly became sharp. What Ben Gong hate the most now is that little slut of the Shen family. Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao knew about the discord between Shen Miao and Princess Mingyan. Princess Mingyan would haggle over every penny, and after suffering a loss in Shen Miao's hands, she would definitely not leave it at that. But now that they were in Mingqi's territory, Shen Miao was not some insignificant young lady from a commoner's family. If something really happened, Princess Mingyan would also be a big trouble. Princess Mingyan looked at Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao, and for the first time her gaze was so amiable. She said, "I know that both of you are Mingqi's top young talents and have outstanding courage. One do not know if you are willing to help Ben Gong with this?" Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao were surprised for a moment before Xie Chongqiao probed. "What does your Princess Highness plan to do?" "Don't worry, this consort is kind, I don't want her life." Princess Mingyan smiled, "But you have to sell her to the lowest brothel in Mingqi, and when she slowly gets used to the life there, then think of ways for the authorities to rescue her." The Xie brothers sucked in a breath of cold air. If one were to be sold to the lowest brothel, the female would almost be ruined. The guests in the lowest brothel were the most boorish martial artists and robbers, and the torturing methods would make one's life worse than death. Many of those who made a mistake and were sent in by their master's servants would not be able to breathe after a day. But Princess Mingyan had specially instructed not to let anyone die, so when Shen Miao was tormented to the point that she became a walking corpse, it would be the biggest joke in the world if the authorities were to rescue her. One fear that everyone would know that the fifth young lady of the Shen family had become a prostitute that anyone could marry, and their spittle would be able to drown Shen Miao. To let the most distinguished young lady be ravaged by the most boorish and barbaric men, it would be better for Shen Miao to die. Chapter 545. Xie Chongwu forced a smile. The Shen family's guards are all highly skilled in martial arts, so how would one sell fifth Shen young lady to that place? This is your matter. Princess Mingyan reverted back to her high and mighty look. Since Ben Gong said that you have guts, then how to kidnap Shen Miao would depend on your abilities. Otherwise, if Ben Gong had to consider everything for you, then what use do Ben Gong have for you? Seeing that Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao were still hesitating, Princess Mingyan softened her tone and guided them patiently. But after the matter is done, Ben Gong will also put in a good word for you in front of Prince Ding, and at least let Prince Ding find a good job for the both of you, and not like now where you can't achieve anything. Such a good deal, do you still not agree to it? Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao looked at each other, and saw the entanglement in each other's eyes. Riches were sought in danger, and for people like them who had been on the official path but did not enter, what they desired the most was nothing more than a day of meteoric success. Princess Mingyan had provided a shortcut to both of them, and it seemed that they only needed a short period of time to be able to take a step closer to the things that they yearned for. But to kidnap Shen Miao, it was indeed not an easy matter. Even now both of them had some of their own people, but the Shin family was a military family, and those guards were extraordinary. One feared that any random guard around Shin Miao would have high martial arts skills. Moreover, once Shin Miao disappeared, Shin Xian would definitely seal off the entire Ding capital, and at that time it would take a lot of effort to hide Shin Miao and transport her to a brothel. Success, glory and wealth, but failure, everything would be an illusion. Both of them could not grasp the gains and losses. When Princess Ming'an saw it, she sneered. Since both of you are hesitating, then treat it as Bengong did not mention this matter. There is only one chance, and Bengong will not give it a second time. Both of you can withdraw. There are not only the two of you who have guts in Mingqi. Bengong think that there will be someone who is willing to gamble on riches and honor. This official is willing. Not waiting for Princess Ming'an to instruct the servants, Xie Chongqiao took the lead to call out. He pulled Xie Chongwu, and when Xie Chongwu saw that Xie Chongqiao had already said it, there was no reason for him to say no. He could only bow. This official is willing to go through water and tread on fire for your Princess Highness without hesitation. That was what he meant by making this deal. Princess Ming'an smiled and said, "Get up. Since you all work hard for Bengong, Bengong will not treat you all badly. This Empress will wait for your good news in the mansion. After that, I will quietly await good news," she said with a smile. After coming out from Princess Ming'an's residence and returning to the residence of the Marquis of Linan, the Xie brothers closed the doors and discussed the matter. Xie Chongwu grumbled, "Third younger brother, you are too impatient. Just now you agreed in front of the princess. This matter is extremely difficult and one would make a mistake if one is not careful." Xie Chongqiao did not agree with his words and said, "Second older brother, the princess also said that if we do not do it, she will find someone else to do it. What you and I lack now is not ability but opportunity. If he succeeds, he will naturally rise to the top. Isn't that what you and I both want to see? But Shen Miao is not a daughter of an ordinary family." Xie Chongwu sighed. "Even if we are able to rescue Shen Miao out, what should we do afterwards? Shen Xian is searching the entire city, and it is not safe for us to hide her anywhere. Isn't there still our residence?" Xie Chongqiao smiled. Xie Chongwu looked at him. "You are saying, no matter how much Shen Xian searches the entire city, there is no reason for him to search his colleague's house. No matter how suspicious outsiders are, they would not suspect that it was us who kidnapped Shen Miao. We have no enmity with Shen Miao, so why would we kidnap her?" Xie Chongqiao smiled, flawless. Chapter 546. Xie Chongwu's originally somewhat worried expression gradually relaxed, only to hear Xie Chongqiao saying, "It is just that on how to rescue Shen Miao, both of us need to plan at length." Shen Miao did not know about the agreement between the Xie brothers and Princess Ming'an. The winter days in the Ding capital darkened early, and not long after dinner, the skies turned completely dark. These days the matters in the court were rather busy, and Shen Xian and the rest were extremely busy, thus it was an advantage for Shan Miao. But today she was replying to the invitation under the light. Previously Feng and Ning had sent her a number of invitations, but because she was thinking about Song Ziqing's matter, she did not go even once. She would let Luotan accompany Feng and Ning to shop, and in the end Feng and Ning's eldest young lady temper flared up, and sent her an invitation today, asking her to come out 2 days later to shop together. If she did not come out, then there was no need to be friends. Shen Miao thought about it and felt that Feng and Ning could still be considered as her friend. In order to maintain this hard-to-come-by friendship, she mercifully prepared to reply the invitation, and agreed to Feng and Ning's invitation. After writing the invitation and handing it over to Guyu, Jingzhe and Guyu went out to close the door. Shen Miao yawned and planned to sleep early, so she walked to the side of the bed. Just as she walked to the side of the bed, she suddenly saw that there was something at the side of the bed that was wriggling under her bedding. Shen Miao jumped in shock. Just now Jingzhe and Guyu were in the room, but they did not notice when this thing came in. In a moment her mind actually thought of some strange and chaotic thoughts, and she instinctively had a layer of goosebumps. But after a moment of silence she calmed down. Speaking of which, she was a person who had died once, so what was there to be afraid of even if she really saw a ghost or god? She immediately walked to the side of the bed and lifted up the bedding. Under the bedding there was a big cat-like thing. Its fur was a rare snow-white color, and was furry and curled up into a ball. When the bedding was suddenly lifted, it paused for a moment before looking up at her. Shen Miao was stunned for a moment. The little thing ran over to her bed and happily picked up the sleeve of her shirt with its mouth. When it got closer, one could see clearly that it was a white tiger. Shen Miao was crazy. Where did such a white tiger come from in the dark? She heard someone laughing in the shadows calling out, "Jiao Jiao." Shen Miao subconsciously looked back and saw that the white tiger cub that was biting her sleeve had stood up with a whoosh and was running to the other side. Under the light of the lamp, his purple robe was illuminated inch by inch, and the places embroidered with golden dragon lines reflected a tiny glimmer of light. Her face was also coated with a layer of warm color by the dim yellow candlelight. She was so beautiful that she didn't seem like someone from the mortal world. Xie Jingxing bent down and picked up the white tiger that had turned its head to bite the corner of his sleeve and casually put the white tiger into his sleeve. Mischievous. Shen Miao blinked her eyes and suddenly reacted. Looking at the white tiger in Xie Jingxing's sleeves, she said incredulously, "What did you call it?" "Jiao Jiao." Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows and walked over unhurriedly. He even asked, "Are we a good match?" Shen Miao was so angry that she did not want to talk to him. Was Xie Jingxing still a human to use her little character to name the beast? Xie Jingxing had already walked over to the small table and sat down. He poured a cup of tea for himself and said, "The tea is still hot. It seems that you are very considerate for me." Shen Miao said, "Shameless. How could there be such a shameless person in the world?" But Xie Jingxing actually took a look at the chrysanthemum cake on the small table and said, "TSK. You even prepared snacks, but I am not hungry. Thank you for the trouble." Chapter 547. That was a snack that Jingzhe prepared in fear that Shen Miao would be hungry at night. Xie Jingxing actually thought that she specially prepared it for him? Shen Miao looked coldly at Xie Jingxing. It was better for her not to speak when this person was like this. "These few days are very tiring." Xie Jingxing said, "It is fortunate that I can rest here for a while. Many thanks." Shen Miao's heart moved. Xie Jingxing had not come for some time. Even though Shen Miao was not used to it because he did not come uninvited at night, but now she had some other thoughts. She asked, "What did you do?" Xie Jingxing looked at her with a faint smile. "Do you want to trick me again?" Shen Miao declined to comment. "It's not fair to keep doing this," Xie Jingxing leisurely said. "You know many of my secrets, but I know nothing about you. Why don't you talk about your own matters?" Shen Miao rolled her eyes at Xie Jingxing in her heart. One had to know that Xie Jingxing had the Fengxian pawnshop as his subordinates and all the major matters of Mingqi were not in his hands. He still had the cheek to say that he knew nothing about Shen Miao? Shen Miao then felt that Xie Jingxing was more dangerous. "Whatever Prince Rui wants to hear, you can go and find Manager Ji," Shen Miao said coldly. "Manager Ji will be very happy to tell your highness." "Manager Ji does not ask about romantic matters," Xie Jingxing said. "Manager Ji also cannot answer what this prince wants to know. Only you can tell this prince." Shen Miao asked, "What do you want to know?" Xie Jingxing held his chin and looked at Shen Miao calmly. After looking for a while, he suddenly said, "What do you like about Fuxiao Yi?" Shen Miao was slightly startled. She had thought that Xie Jingxing would ask her some inexplicable questions. In these years of dealing with Xie Jingxing, she also clearly realized that her understanding of Xie Jingxing in her previous life was very shallow. A young talent who died young was definitely not the best description for him. Xie Jingxing was a smart and dangerous hunter. If he didn't grasp it properly, it would be easy for the hunter to capture his fatal weakness. She was clear that she had revealed a lot of information and made some mistakes that made Xie Jingxing suspicious. She even wanted to know how to answer when Xie Jingxing asked her how she knew so many things that would happen in the future. She did not expect Xie Jingxing to ask such an irrelevant question. What did she like about Fuxiao Yi? What did it have to do with the plans of the world? Shen Miao asked, "Why ask this?" After not hearing Xie Jingxing's reply for a long time, Shen Miao turned her head and happened to meet Xie Jingxing's gaze. Under the light, Xie Jingxing was staring at her. He was born handsome and charming. At this moment under the light, his black eyes were like stars. It was as if all the stars in the sky were not as bright as his eyes. However, within that brightness, there was a sharpness that made it impossible for anyone to shift their gaze away. They were firmly locked onto by him, unable to move. That gaze seemed to contain something else. Seemed to be questioning or something else. It was 30% domineering and 70% domineering, but it was an unavoidable state that made the depths of the eyes burn. Why are you asking this? He did not answer. Shan Miao heard her heart beating violently, and there was a moment of panic in her. This long-lost, lively voice that came from her chest made her feel helpless and lost, but she didn't resist it anymore. In the cold winter day, the dim candlelight warmly shone. The youth's eyes were sharp and seemed to be able to see through everything as his lips slowly hooked up. Achoo! The white tiger in Xie Jingxing's embrace sneezed as it was hit by some fine dust, waking up the two people in the room who were silent. Shen Miao recovered to her senses and said, "Your pet is sick." She actually avoided the question without a trace. Xie Jingxing did not bother with it, and instead picked up the white tiger from his sleeves. He looked at it and said, "Delicate." One did not know who he was talking about. Shen Miao took a deep breath and felt that Xie Jingxing's intention to use this white tiger as his little name was very bad. In the future, when people scolded this animal, Shen Miao would inevitably think of herself. Thinking of this, she was somewhat unhappy with the white tiger, and even Xie Jingxing was not pleasing to the eye. Since it is delicate, one will ask Imperial Physician Gao to take a look at it. Shen Miao ridiculed. Anyway, Imperial Physician Gao's medical skills are brilliant. It is the same whether he treats a human or an animal. Xie Jingxing smiled. Zhao Jiao does not like Imperial Physician Gao and only likes to stick to this prince. Shen Miao glared at him. Xie Jingxing definitely did it on purpose. Prince Rue is still not leaving? Shen Miao said, "I want to rest." Xie Jingxing was displeased. There will be a day when you can go out with Feng and Ning for an entire day, and this prince would leave in a moment. Really unjust. Even though he said so, he stood up from his seat and walked to the window when he suddenly thought of something and turned back to the person standing beside the bed. Tell this prince about the question just now in the future. His figure disappeared at the window. Shen Miao walked over to close the window and blew out the lamp before climbing up. The room fell into silence, as if it was just an illusion that someone had come over. It was just that there was a cup of tea left on the table that reminded her that it was not just a dream. Everything was very real. Just that, on the bed, Shen Miao's hand touched her chest. There was a violent beating, and until now it had not subsided. It was not an illusion. Chapter 548. The heavens were beautiful and the weather was not good for a few days, but on the day that Feng and Ning wanted to go out, there was a rare sunny day. The sun was warm and comfortable as it shone on the body. But even so, Shen Miao still put on the rabbit fur cloak. Even though there was a heater in the room, it was difficult to protect against the wind outside. If one caught a cold in such weather, it would be a troublesome matter. Early in the morning, Feng and Ning's horse carriage was at the entrance of the Shen mansion to pick up Luotan and Shan Miao. The Feng family had always doted on Feng and Ning, and now that Feng and Ning had finished all the lessons in Guangwentang at her age, she could not stay in the residence every day and might as well go out for a stroll. It was just that no matter how big the Ding capital was, there would be a day when one would get tired of visiting places. Luotan's arrival made Feng and Ning very happy, and she was very happy to be a person to lead the way for Luotan, and help Luotan find some fresh places to play. But after a long time, Feng and Ning could not take it. Luotan was indeed a young lady from the Luo family. She forgot about the jewelry and clothing stores after seeing them, but she was always focused on going to the weapons store. When he saw a weapon that suited him, his eyes lit up. How would Feng and Ning understand this and complained incessantly? That was why she insisted on bringing Shan Miao along. Feng and Ning was wearing a cherry-colored floral skirt and a colorful brocade cloak, which looked extremely bright in the winter. She had also matured over the years, becoming more and more beautiful. However, the moment she opened her mouth to speak, her pretty face immediately became somewhat arrogant. She lifted the curtain of the carriage and said anxiously, "You're waiting for someone to die. Why aren't you getting in yet?" She did not expect Shen Qiu to be standing outside the carriage. Shen Qiu sent Shen Miao and Luotan out. He knew that Shen Miao only had Feng and Ning as a friend in the Ding capital. His memory was still stuck on the domineering little girl from 2 years ago, Who would have thought that when he opened the curtain of the carriage, he would see a fresh and lively girl inside. When the young lady saw that it was him, she shrunk her head, and her arrogant voice suddenly lowered as she timidly said, "Major General Shen." Shen Qiu looked at Feng and Ning inexplicably, and nodded his head as a greeting. He let Shen Miao and Luo Tan board the carriage and instructed them to pay attention to safety before leaving. Because today it was Feng and Ning's invitation, the Feng family brought quite a number of guards and Shen Miao and Luo Tan did not bring any other guards, thinking that when it was time, Feng and Ning would send them back to the Shen mansion. After Shen Qiu left, Feng and Ning patted her chest and gave a sigh of relief. It was strange that every time Feng and Ning saw Shen Qiu, she would instinctively feel some fear. Although Shen Qiu did not speak harshly to her, the prestige of the young general was not just for show. Feng and Ning thought of Shen Qiu's appearance just now. After 2 years of not seeing him, Shen Qiu, who had been through the Shaochun city's experience, became more mature and firm. Even though he was still a genial eldest brother, in the eyes of outsiders, his majesty did not diminish. Luo Tan asked Feng and Ning, "Hey? Why are you blushing?" Feng and Ning was surprised for a moment before touching her cheeks. It was indeed unusually hot. She used her hand as a fan to fan her face and said, "It's so stuffy in this carriage. It's a little hot." Luo Tan did not suspect anything and said, "You are wearing too much." She then thought of something. "Ning, why are you afraid of Biao older brother Qiu? When was I afraid of him?" Hearing Luo Tan's words, Feng and Ning quickly refuted. This made Luo Tan jump in shock. "Your appearance just now was obviously that of fear." Luo Tan said, "What is there to be shameful about? But Biao older brother Qiu is a very good person. Most likely one would think that he is fierce from the outside. If you are even afraid of Biao older brother Qiu, wait till you see my Biao older brother Sa. Then you would know what is the black-faced deity." Luo Sa did not know that Luo Tan, who was thousands of miles away, had already blackened herself in front of her best friend. Feng and Ning emphasized, "I am not afraid of him." Chapter 549. Luo Tan said, Good. You are not afraid. This should be all right." Shen Miao, who had been watching silently from the side, saw Feng and Ning's cheeks flushing with anger, and her heart suddenly moved. In the previous lifetime, the imperial household stood on the wrong side and Master Feng was implicated. In order to protect this pearl in his palm, he could only marry Feng and Ning to the Biao older brother of the same family, who knew that Biao older brother had a golden appearance but was rotten inside. After the Feng family fell, he raised a mistress outside and even had a son. With Feng and Ning's arrogant temperament, how could she endure such grievances? Afterwards she took a pair of scissors and perished together with that mistress. In this lifetime, because of Shen Miao's messing around, the forces in Ming Qi's imperial family were evenly matched and Master Feng did not pick a side. But no one could guarantee that the previous lifetime's ending would not happen again. Shen Miao did not have any feelings towards the Feng family, but if it was Feng and Ning, she would also want to pull her along. Feng and Ning always made her think of Wan Yu, both pitiful people who were implicated by the family. "Why are you looking at me for?" Feng and Ning saw Shen Miao staring straight at her, and did not know what she was thinking about. She thought that Shen Miao was brooding over Luo Tan's words. She said in a flustered and exasperated manner, "You also think that I am afraid of your eldest brother?" Luo Tan snickered at the side and Shen Miao recovered to her senses and shook her head. "Not that. It is just that your dress is somewhat unique." But any female would love to hear others praise themselves, so no matter how angry Feng and Ning was, Shen Miao's words made her unable to get angry. She then said proudly, "Of course. This is the flower that my mother asked someone to find for me." Shen Miao's eyes drooped down and her heart sighed slightly. Forget it. Everyone had their own fate and one would not be able to eat hot tofu if one was anxious. Some things were better to take it slowly. One had to say that it was more tiring for 3 people to wander around than 2 people. Because Feng and Ning wanted to shop at the jewelry tailor's shop but Luo Tan wanted to look at weapons and the like, so they strolled from the east to the west and from the south to the north. Luo Tan and Feng and Ning always bickered and Shen Miao's head hurt from the quarrel. When she went out with both of them, she was as mature as a mother with a child. In the end, both of them quarreled for a while and at the end coincidentally pointed the spearhead at her, saying that Shen Miao was young like an old woman, and more boring than the monks in the temple. In the end, Shen Miao simply ignored both of them. The day was exceptionally lively. The three young ladies strolled around and bought so many things that there was almost no space left in the carriage. Feng Ning was very heroic, and whenever Shen Miao and Luo Tan saw something, she would wave her hands by. If it was not for Shen Miao stopping her, one feared that Feng Ning would have moved the entire jewelry shop back to the residence. They ate, drank, and played around. When the sun was about to set, everyone decided to return home. Because Shen Miao and Luo Tan were invited by Feng Ning, it would be inconvenient to bring more guards. So Shen Miao did not bring any guards from the Shen residence and wanted to take the Feng family's horse carriage back. Who knew that just as they went out from the shop and sat on the horse carriage, Feng Ning flipped through her pouch and there was some anxiety on her face. The cat's eye hairpin that I just bought is missing. Feng Ning shopped around the jewelry shops in the Ding capital, and if one were to talk about what she was most satisfied with, it would be the butterfly-shaped cat's eye hairpin. That cat's eye was a rare and transparent sapphire blue color, and was very beautiful to look at. When Feng Ning was eating in the restaurant, she took it out to look at with Shen Miao and the rest. Shen Miao said, "Look again. Just now it was still in your hands, how could it be missing?" Feng Ning flipped through her pouch and asked her personal maids, but they all said that they did not see it. Luo Tan asked, "Could it be left in the restaurant?" Feng Ning said, "I do not know." Chapter 550. Why not go back and take a look? Shen Miao said, "You just left, and if you were to drop it, the people in the restaurant would pick it up. I will accompany you to take a look." Feng Ning thought about it. "I will go myself. It is just a matter of a sentence. If one could not find it, then it is all right. It is not a pity about the 2 silvers, but it is rare to meet one who likes it so much." Luo Tan was somewhat speechless. Feng Ning was indeed rich and overbearing. In fact, even though the Feng family was wealthy, it was not to the extent of squandering. It was nothing more than the Feng family truly doting on Feng Ning as their daughter, and did not lack in silver. This caused Feng Ning to not have any impression of silver, and when she lost something, her first reaction was, "It is rare to meet one who likes it so much. I will bring a few guards up to take a look." Feng Ning said, "All of you wait here for me. I will come down immediately." Shen Miao nodded her head. Feng Ning brought most of the guards and left. Most likely it was to strengthen the momentum, and in case the waiters in the restaurant wanted to hide it, they would be timid after seeing Feng Ning's actions. After Feng Ning left, there was only Luo Tan and Shen Miao left. There were also 4 guards standing guard outside. Luo Tan looked at the sky and said, "When it is peaceful, it would be dark when we return to the residence." She stretched her waist and said, "Today is really tiring. Tomorrow I will be lazy and no one is to disturb me." Shen Miao was silent. Just now she did not know who was the one who excitedly said that the next time they would play to their heart's content. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly heard a guard outside saying, "Shen young lady, Luo young lady, this subordinate just picked up young lady's hairpin." What? Luo Tan was surprised for a moment. Lifting the curtain of the carriage, there was indeed a guard standing outside the Feng residence holding a glittering gem hairpin. If it was not the cat's eye that Feng Ning had thrown, what else could it be? Luo Tan frowned. How could Ning be so rash? One did not even know that the thing had dropped on the ground. That guard walked 2 steps towards the carriage and Luo Tan reached out to take the hairpin. Just as she held onto the hairpin, that guard suddenly pulled Luo Tan out. Another guard of the Feng family jumped onto the carriage with a whoosh and pushed the driver to the ground. He whipped the horses violently and the horses were in pain. They suddenly raised their hooves and galloped madly on the street. All of this happened too quickly. Even the other 2 guards of the Feng residence did not have time to react. By the time they reacted, Shen Miao and the carriage had already run more than 10 meters away. Fortunately, Luo Tan was still in the carriage. Luo Tan's reaction was extremely fast. When the guard pulled her out, Luo Tan firmly grabbed onto the edge of the carriage and leaned back. This was a time where every second counted. Seeing that he couldn't drag Luo Tan down, the man didn't get entangled. He leaped onto another horse and galloped out of the city with the carriage. There were originally many commoners on the street, but they were all stunned by the rampaging carriage. Some of the peddlers who couldn't dodge in time had their shops overturned, But they didn't know which carriage was so arrogant. That carriage ran very fast and Shan Miao and Luotan were thrown around in the carriage until they fainted. At the crucial moment, Luotan still remembered to pull Shan Miao's hand and said, "Biao youngest sister, don't be afraid. We will jump out of the carriage. Jump out of the carriage and reveal our identity. There are so many people outside and they would have some fear." Shan Miao's heart was slightly warm. She was thrown around in the carriage and was unable to control herself, but she said, "It is too late. Look outside." Luotan grabbed onto the edge of the carriage bed and looked out. She was stunned as the familiar streets had disappeared. The small alleys were crooked and there wasn't a single person. One did not know where this road was. Luotan's heart suddenly gave birth to despair. If it was said that just now she still thought of jumping out of the carriage, at least she could save her life. But in an instant, this place was desolate and uninhabited. Even if she jumped out of the carriage, she would only be a fish on someone's chopping block. Chapter 551. Do not worry. They should be coming for me. At that time you can pretend to faint or think of a way to escape, and they will not do anything to you. Shan Miao said, "How can I leave you and escape by myself?" Luotan grabbed Shan Miao's hands. "In the beginning you saved the Luo family in the Shaochun city. Even if I cannot save you, I will not leave you behind. If we are to die, we will die together." Shan Miao did not know whether to laugh or cry. Now was not the time to talk about heroism. She barely straightened her body in the shaking carriage and whispered in Luotan's ears, "Remember, if you successfully escape, think of a way to send a letter to Prince Rui's residence. Just say that there is a transaction and the price will be discussed later." Luotan was stunned when she heard it and looked suspiciously at Shan Miao. "How is it related to Prince Rui?" "Biao youngest sister, you do not ask so much." Shan Miao said, "This matter is of great importance. Do not mention the matter of Prince Rui to anyone. I will only tell you if I trust you." Luotan nodded her head and then shook her head. "No way. I will not leave you alone." Shan Miao still wanted to say something, but the horse carriage suddenly stopped. Shan Miao and Luotan could not react in time and crashed into the small table in the carriage. Following that, the curtain of the carriage was suddenly lifted and a person came in and dragged Shan Miao out. Luotan hugged Shan Miao's thighs. "Biao youngest sister." She used all her strength, and with this pull, the person outside actually did not manage to drag Shan Miao away. That person was most likely very angry as he suddenly kicked Luotan. Even if Luotan practiced martial arts in the Luo family all year round, she was after all a young female. After being kicked in the pit of the heart, she immediately fell out of the carriage. With a dong sound, Shan Miao's heart was shocked when she heard it. The remaining guard urged, "Move faster. Do not be discovered by others." They directly cut off the carriage and one of them did not say a word as he stuffed Shan Miao's mouth with a cloth and tied her hands and feet. After knocking Shan Miao unconscious, he threw her onto the back of the horse. That action made Luotan want to spit fire. Luotan's eyes suddenly caught a glimpse of a short knife that fell out of the carriage. Today Feng and Ning had shopped enough at the jewelry shops and mercifully accompanied Luotan to shop at the weapons shop. That dagger was bought from there. Without thinking, she grabbed the dagger and rushed towards one of them. That person was a martial artist. He threw Luotan to the ground. Luotan's gaze suddenly froze. Military school? These were not ordinary guards. These moves were clearly unique to the military. At the very least, these two people were related to the army. Hearing Luotan's words, an ominous glint suddenly appeared in the man's eyes. He snatched the dagger from Luotan's hand and slashed it backhandedly. Luotan clutched her waist and slowly fell down. The other person was still urging, "Stop dawdling, let's go." Only then did the man throw down his knife and mount another horse. The two of them quickly disappeared into the alley. In the gloomy alley, there were only a few messy horse carriages. Luotan was lying on the ground. Her apricot-colored dress was gradually dyed red, making her look exceptionally frightening. With a paw slap, Feng and Ning gave the two guards a slap. The two guards immediately knelt down and kowtowed. "We failed to protect our master. Please punish us, miss." "Punish?" Feng and Ning did not get angry but laughed instead. "How should I punish you? Flogging or selling? What is the use of punishing you? Would Shen Miao and Luo Tan be able to return? The two guards did not make a sound. They also tried to chase after the carriage, but the carriage was extremely fast. By the time they started chasing, there was already a distance between them. The other party seemed to have come prepared, taking small alleys. Towards the end, they had no idea where the carriage had gone. Chapter 552. Feng Aning was going crazy. She had only gone to the restaurant to ask the waiter if he had seen her cat's eye hairpin. When she came back downstairs, she saw that the carriage had disappeared, and the surrounding people were all pointing at it. She sent a maidservant to inquire and found out that someone had stolen her carriage. And in that carriage there was Shen Miao and Luo Tan. Not long after, the remaining two guards returned, but they couldn't find the carriage. Feng Aning looked at the hairpin that was stained with dust and closed her eyes. Even if she was usually heartless, she was well aware of the current situation. Today's matter was planned by someone. Someone had infiltrated their Feng family's guards in order to kidnap Shen Miao and Luo Tan. What kind of person was Shen Miao and Luo Tan? One was Shen Xian's daughter, and the other was Luo Shuiyan's biological niece. No matter which one it was, they were considered to have some fame in the Ding capital. Someone actually dared to plot against them. That meant that if the other party was willing to take such a big risk, Shen Miao and the rest would definitely be in danger. Thinking of this, Feng Aning's body trembled. It was she who invited Shen Miao and Luo Tan out to tour the Ding capital. It was she who brought the guards, and it was she who wanted to go to the restaurant midway. If she hadn't gone back to look for the hairpin, a few more guards might have been able to stop the murderers. If she did not seek convenience and agreed to let Shen Miao bring some guards from the Shen residence, then this kind of accident would not have happened. If she did not invite Shen Miao, then today's matter would not have happened. It was all her fault. Feng Aning's body was tottering and the maid beside jumped in shock when she saw it and quickly went forward to support her. Young lady must not blame yourself. If one injures one's body, master and foreign would feel distressed when they see it. Feng Aning shook her head and smiled bitterly. Father and mother would be distressed if I am like this. After knowing about Shen Miao and Luo Tan's matter, what would Shen Foreign and General Shan do? Even if you killed me, you wouldn't be able to compensate me for my mistakes. She covered her face. For the first time, she disregarded her status and burst into tears in front of everyone in the restaurant. What's going on? Where was Jiao Jiao? Where did Cousin Tan go? A solemn male voice suddenly came from outside the restaurant. Feng Aning released her hand and saw Shan Qiu striding in with a group of soldiers following behind him. Each one of them had an imposing manner and the people in the restaurant could not help but shrink their heads. Today Shan Qiu came down early and wanted to return to the residence to ask Shen Miao and Luo Tan if they wanted to go hunting together on another day. Who knew that before he could return to the residence, he heard his subordinates reporting that Shen Miao, Luo Tan, and Feng Aning went out today and met with an accident at the restaurant. Shen Xian and Luo Shuiyan had not returned to the residence and naturally did not know of this news. After Shan Qiu knew of it, he rushed over without stopping. Who knew that when he arrived, he would see a gloomy atmosphere in the restaurant and that arrogant and willful young lady of the Feng family was crying bitterly in the middle. In an instant, Shan Qiu's heart surged with a bad premonition. He strode over to Feng Aning and asked, "What happened?" Feng Aning was surprised for a moment as Shan Qiu stood in front of her. He had a tall stature but his eyes were filled with anxiety, making Feng Aning suddenly speechless. Shan Qiu and Shen Miao had a very good relationship, and this was a fact that everyone knew. For Shen Miao, Shen Qiu was willing to kill and commit arson. If Shen Qiu knew that Shen Miao was kidnapped, her face was astringent as she spoke with difficulty. Shen Miao, Luo Tan and I finished strolling around the shops and returned to the restaurant to take the things. Shen Miao and Luo Tan were left in the horse carriage. Spies infiltrated the Feng residence's guards and they took away the horse carriage as well as Shen Miao and Luo Tan. I have already asked my father to send people to secretly investigate but... Feng Aning held back her tears. Sorry, it is all my fault. Shan Qiu did not even look at Feng Aning but everyone saw him clenching his fists tightly, and one could even hear the crisp sound of his joints. Chapter 553. He took a deep breath and his voice was very calm as he instructed Mo Qing. Report to the officials to seal the city and search for the person. The Shen family's army can be dispatched and take my spiritual tablet to pass down the order to search the entire city. If the person is found, the Shen family will hand over 10,000 taels of gold. 10,000 gold taels. The surrounding people gasped in shock. Feng Ning was also surprised when she heard it, but when she recovered to her senses, her heart felt even more reproachful. Shen Qiu's eyelids did not even blink when he was willing to fork out 10,000 taels of gold. Did it not mean that Shen Miao was a treasure in his eyes, but now Shen Miao's life or death was unknown? I didn't kill Boren, but Boren died because of me. That was probably the logic behind it. Mo Qing's expression was also solemn as he turned around to receive the orders. Feng Ning said, even though reporting to the authorities would make it easier to guard the city, but as such, there would be rumors in the Ding capital and it would damage Shen Miao's and Luotan's reputation. Feng Ning was a female, and naturally understood the importance of reputation to a female. If the matter of Shen Miao and Luotan being abducted was spread out by outsiders, it would inevitably be speculated by people with ill intentions. Moreover, it was not that the Shen family did not have any enemies in the Ding capital and could indeed be used by others. Shen Qiu said, compared to one's life, reputation is worthless. Even if their reputation was really damaged, so what if the Shen family supported them for a lifetime? It's not like we can't afford it. He turned around and walked out. Feng Anning said, I'm sorry. Today's matter is all because of me. I'll definitely pay you a visit another day to apologize. This matter has nothing to do with you. Shen Qiu's voice was emotionless. Those people came prepared. They knew their identities and still made a move. Even if it wasn't you, they would have found a chance to do so. Feng Ning's heart was slightly comforted, but before she could speak, she heard Shen Qiu's faint words. But I'm sorry, I can't help but vent my anger when I see you, so it's better that Miss Feng doesn't visit for the time being. He did not even turn his head back as he strode away, leaving Feng Ning standing alone in the hall. Outside, Qi asked Shen Qiu, young master directly mobilize the Shen family army and not ask foreigners and master's opinion? Ask a fart. Shen Qiu scolded. Now there is no time to think about this and that. Those people dared to take the risk. Jiao Jiao and Cousin Tan were in great danger. He actually dared to have designs on my Shen family. Wait till I catch him, I will fucking kill him. The young and genial young general was infuriated at this moment. He turned over and mounted his horse. Go to the administrator of the capital. Even if the Ding capital is turned upside down, the person must be found. The news of the Shen family's young lady and Biao young lady being kidnapped in the Ding capital spread throughout the entire Ding capital in no time. This was a fact that could not be concealed. One was that when Feng Ning and Luotan were abducted, there were commoners who were watching and some people knew of Feng Ning's identity. Secondly, the capital magistrate, the city garrison, the Yamen officials, the Shen family's army, and the Feng family's guards were all mobilized. With such a big movement, it would be hard not to know. Everyone knew that Shen Xian doted on his daughter, but this kind of doting method that almost overturned the entire Ding capital still scared a lot of people. After Luo Shuiyan and Shen Xian got to know of the news, they personally led people to search every house. Unexpectedly, they didn't stop searching until the middle of the night. Xie Jingxing returned from outside and just reached the residence of Prince Rui. He saw Ji Yushu and Gao Yang waiting in the residence. These two people would usually gather at the Fengxian pawn shop, but because Gao Yang's identity was sensitive in general, they would not all go to the residence of Prince Rui. Xie Jingxing looked at the two of them in surprise and handed the things in his hands to Tai Yi. When the white tiger in the courtyard saw him enter, it leaped over to Xie Jingxing's boots and intimately bit on his trousers. Xie Jingxing bent over to wrap the white tiger up and asked, "What is the matter?" Gao Yang looked at Ji Yushu and Ji Yushu stared at the white tiger for a while before making a decision. "There is something to tell you." "What is it?" Xie Jingxing went out of the city alone today, so he really did not know what happened in the Ding capital. Recently the public security in the Ding capital is not very good, and it is somewhat chaotic. Ji Yushu scratched his ears and cheeks as he looked around and said, "Today there was a young lady who went out to stroll in the city and was just below the restaurant. There were villains mixed in with the guards and directly snatched the carriage away. There were 2 other officials' young ladies in the carriage. Until now there is no trace of their whereabouts. Xie Jingxing stared at Ji Yushu. Ji Yushu was somewhat frightened by his stare and said tremblingly, Gao Yang, and I want to remind you that your beauty is not worse than those young ladies. You must be careful. Xie Jingxing calmly said, Ji Yushu, I say, you also know that person. It is 5th Shin young lady. Ji Yushu quickly spoke and quietly took a step back to hide behind Gao Yang. There was a moment of silence in the room. Where is the person? Ji Yushu blankly looked at the empty courtyard. There was only the white tiger that was casually thrown on the ground and was howling in pain. Are you stupid? Gao Yang looked at him coldly. It is all right to be smarter than you. Ji Yushu replied. At the same time, Shun Qiu, who was searching for Shun Miao's whereabouts all over the city, received the news that Luo Tan had been found. Mo Qing said, Luo young lady is about to die. Chapter 554. When Luo Tan was found, she was in an abandoned alley in the west of the Ding capital. That alley was connected to several alleys and the route was crooked, making it difficult to find. It was Aqi's city guards who were very familiar with every corner of the Ding capital. That was why they discovered Luo Tan's whereabouts. However, even though they had found Luo Tan, the situation did not make them feel relaxed. Luo Tan's waist, which was near her abdomen, was stabbed deeply and the wound was extremely deep. Because it took some time to find her, when she was sent back to the Shun residence, she was already at her last gasp. Several doctors came in a row, and when they saw Luo Tan's injuries, they could only shake their heads and say that there was no way to save her. This made Shen Exan so angry that he almost pulled out his knife. It was Luo Shuiyan who said, Since they are all quacks, take a Exan's card and invite the imperial physicians from the palace. Aren't all the people in the Imperial Academy of Medicine capable of bringing back the dying? Whoever can cure Tanner will be heavily rewarded by the Shen family. Shun Qiu ordered his subordinates to bring Shen Exion's invitation to the palace to invite the imperial physician. Everyone surrounded Luo Tan's bed and Luo Shuiyan's eyes were red. Who did it? How could he be so vicious and merciless? Luo Ling's gaze was also heavy. Luo Tan was his Tang younger sister, and now that her life and death was unknown, he naturally felt uncomfortable. However, what made one even more uneasy was that Luo Tan had been found, but there was no news of Shun Miao's whereabouts. Even Luo Tan ended up in such a state, and the other party did not show any mercy. It was obvious that he was a vicious person, so no one dared to think what would happen to Shun Miao. The Shun family's soldiers searched non-stop in the Ding capital, but did not manage to find a single clue. Those people seemed to have disappeared into thin air. They had searched all the houses of the flat-top commoners, including the streets and alleys. They couldn't search the mansions of the officials. Even if they wanted to, they didn't have the authority to do so. There was a terrible silence in the room. Shun Miao did not know what was happening outside. When she woke up, she did not know what time it was. Her hands and feet were tied and she could not move. Shun Miao slowly opened her eyes. The other party had forgotten to blindfold her. Perhaps he felt that it was unnecessary. This was a spacious secret room. There was a desk, a cabinet, and a bed. He did not know where this place was. It seemed to be a secret room in someone's mansion. Shun Miao could not even move and could only watch quietly. There was no sound from outside. Nothing could be heard. Previously, Shun Miao was knocked unconscious, and one did not know what happened. One did not know if Luo Tan had escaped or if she had brought the words to Xie Jingxing. Now Shen Exine was a character that everyone in the Ding capital feared, especially when the envoys from the Qing country and the Great Liang had yet to leave. Because Emperor Wen Hui had to rely on Shen Exine's status rose steadily, and with the withdrawal of military power, ordinary people would not dare to touch Shen Exine's head. But at the moment there was someone who did it without thinking. To be so daring and not care about the consequences, Shun Miao was able to guess who that person was. Other than Princess Mingyan, who else would use such simple and crude methods? But she did not expect that Princess Mingyan would find a helper in the Ding capital so quickly. Obviously Princess Mingyan would not do it herself, and even Huangfu Hao would not allow Princess Mingyan to use such stupid methods. And the person who kidnapped her that day was actually able to mix in with the Feng family's guards, and had some understanding of the Feng family. It seemed that he had inquired about her and Feng and Ning's itinerary very clearly, especially when he drove the horse carriage to get rid of the Feng family's guards, and walked into a deserted alley. Everything was clear and clearly showed one fact. The helper that Princess Mingyan found was very familiar with the routes in Mingqi, and was obviously a native of the Ding capital. Chapter 555. Princess Mingyan was such an opinionated person, so it was impossible for her to be related to any small characters, but if it was someone with an official position, how would he be willing to take the risk and bet his future with Princess Mingyan to kidnap Shan Miao? One had to know that if Shen Xian found out about this in the future, Shen Xian would definitely not let it go. The officials of Mingqi had always sought benefits and avoided harm, thus they would never do such a dangerous thing. Therefore, it could only be those who had a certain official position but were extremely eager to climb higher, to the point that they didn't even care about their own lives. Among the bureaucrats of Mingqi, who was such a person? Shen Miao could not remember for a moment. But as the matter concerned Princess Mingyan, Shen Xian would be implicated in many things. One did not know why, but the first thing that Shen Miao thought of was that if Xie Jingxing were to take action, he would be able to find her very quickly. Thinking about it, Xie Jingxing also had the Fengxian pawnshop, and the Fengxian pawnshop's information was spread out in all directions, so if the person who abducted her was familiar with every place in the Ding capital, and the Fengxian pawnshop had been doing business in Mingqi for so many years, so how could it be defeated? Shen Miao could only hope that Xie Jingxing would discover her as soon as possible. She strenuously pulled her hands into her sleeves and the other party tied the rope very tightly. Shen Miao almost scraped her wrists before she was able to find the hairpin in her sleeves. It was specially made by her. Ever since her rebirth, in order to prevent all kinds of accidents, she had specially made this hairpin. The tip of the hairpin was bent into a hook. In a critical moment, it could probably be used to blind the opponent's eyes. This was a trick she had learned in the palace in her previous life. But now, it could be used to sharpen the ropes binding her hands and feet. Just as she was about to make a move, she heard footsteps coming from outside. Shen Miao's heart moved and she quickly stuffed the hairpin back into her sleeves. She leaned against the wall and closed her eyes, pretending to be unconscious. The door was opened, and it seemed like someone was walking in from the outside. Judging from the footsteps, there was more than one person. One of them said, "The Shen family's movements are too big. If this goes on, how long will it take to transport the people away?" Another person replied, "What are you panicking for? He's in our hands now. It won't be too late to send him out after we avoid the limelight for a while." There were two people. Shen Miao calculated in her heart. Listening to the other party's tone, she was only here temporarily to avoid the limelight, and in the end, they would still send her out. Wherever Princess Mingyan could send her to, it would not be a good place. What was slightly comforting was that Shen Xian's actions were extremely fast. Now that the entire city was on high alert and with so many pairs of eyes watching, it would be difficult for the other party to send her out. At least for a short period of time, she would not be in any danger. It was just that Shen Miao's heart was suspicious. Why did the voices of these two people sound so familiar? But she was pretending to be asleep, so she couldn't open her eyes to look. Seeming to feel that there were eyes on her, Shen Miao heard one person saying hesitantly, "Why is she still not awake? Was it because I was too heavy-handed?" "Second older brother, what time is it now and you still have the mind to care if she wakes up or not?" Another person said, "Do not worry. Even if Shen Miao does not wake up, the princess side will be happy. You have also seen the princess attitude. The more miserable Shen Miao is, the better. It doesn't matter if she is dead or alive. I am just worried." The person who was called second older brother had some worries in his voice. If this matter is discovered by father, so what if father discovers? Do not forget that you and I are father's biological sons. Ever since that little bastard died, father can only rely on us two brothers in the future. That person said, "Moreover, the Xie family and the Shen family are not on good terms. Do you think that father would report his own biological son for a Shen family that is not on good terms with him?" Chapter 556. Xie family? Xie family. In the corner, Shen Miao's eyelashes slightly trembled as she could not hide the shock in her heart. She did not expect that the people who abducted her were actually from the Xie family. That person called the other person's second older brother. Without a doubt, these two people were Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao. Shen Miao's heart was in disbelief. She had never thought that the people who allied with Princess Ming and were Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao. One had to know that even though Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao had always been dissatisfied with Xie Jingxing, but from the previous lifetime they were like their master Fu Xiuyi, people who were good at enduring. How could they be so arrogant and conceited in this lifetime, not hesitating to put themselves in danger, and even did the shady business of abducting people? The residence of the Marquis of Lin and was a large aristocratic family in Mingqi, and even if it was a Shu son, it was better than many of the D sons of the official families. Once the things that Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao did were exposed, the entire residence of the Marquis of Lin would be destroyed. Were these two people crazy? Xie Chongwu spat out, "Is this place safe?" "Naturally safe," Xie Chongqiao said proudly. "Who would think that the young lady of the Shen family would be hiding in our residence? Besides, in this mansion the only people who know about this secret chamber are you and me. Even if Shen Exen really received His Majesty's verbal order and was lucky enough to search our residence, I guarantee that he would return in defeat." "That is good." Xie Chongwu let out a sigh of relief. Whether this matter succeeds or fails, it is all in a single thought, and there must not be a single mistake. Once the commotion outside is over, quickly send the person out. Xie Chongqiao nodded his head and took out clean water and rice from the basket before walking to Shan Miao's side and placed 2 bowls in front of her. "Wake her up. Eat now? One cannot starve to death." Xie Chongwu asked. "No need," Xie Chongqiao said. "Tie her up. It is not like she does not have a mouth. Don't you think that to let a young lady eat like a dog, Her Princess Highness would be very happy? At that time the princess would be happy, and it would be good to put in a few good words for us in front of His Highness." Xie Chongwu then said, "It is also good. Third younger brother is thoughtful. Since that's the case, let's go out first to avoid suspicion." The two of them left after saying that. When there were no more sounds outside, Shen Miao slowly opened her eyes. There were 2 bowls on the ground in front of him, one was clear water, the other was. Fortunately, Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao did not give her something more disgusting to eat. Shen Miao sighed in her heart. It wasn't like she hadn't eaten before. There were even rancid dishes in the cold palace. So what? In order to survive, a person's dignity could be temporarily set aside. As long as there was a chance one day they could take revenge. But Xie Chongwu's and Xie Chongqiao's words finally made her frown slowly. This was actually the secret chamber of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage. If it was really so, then it would be difficult for Shen Exine to find this place. First, without Emperor Wen Hui's verbal order, it was impossible to search the residence of a bureaucrat's family unless there was concrete evidence. But without any rhyme or reason, the Xie brothers and Shen Miao did not have any interactions, so how would others think that they were the culprits of the abduction? Second, if Shen Exine really obtained the verbal order, as the Xie brothers said, this secret chamber was very secretive. Xie Ding did not know about it, so how would Shen Exine be able to find it? The Xie family took a different approach. The most dangerous place was the safest place. As such, the matter became more troublesome. Shen Miao looked at the clear water in front of her. Could Xie Jingxing find it? At the other end, in the Shen mansion, the imperial physician from the palace finally came. The person who came was dressed in white and was holding a folding fan. If it was not for the medical box on his back, he would have looked like a gentle young master of a noble family. He did not look like he was here to save someone but to appreciate the flowers. Chapter 557. This person was the young imperial physician of the palace, Gao Yang. Luo Shuiyan and Shen Exine had a suspicious look on their faces. Even though Gao Yang's medical skills were praised in the palace, those who treated the patients in the palace were all female concubines. Females would always like flashy things, and no one could say that it was not because of Gao Yang's good looks that everyone praised his medical skills. Moreover, with regards to doctors, most people had a kind of thinking that the older one was, the more outstanding their medical skills were, and as for the younger ones, they only knew some superficial things. Shen Exine did not expect that the imperial physician that the palace invited was actually Gao Yang, and in a moment he could not refuse. If he were to invite again, one feared that it would delay a lot of time. That legendary imperial physician Gao was very knowledgeable about worldly affairs. He was first welcomed in and put on an air of grandeur as he walked over to the unconscious Luotan and took her pulse. Everyone looked at him with bright eyes, and after a long while, Gao Yang then shook his head and sighed, weak breath, disordered pulse. The wound is too deep and injured the internal organs, and there is a lot of blood. It is difficult. Luo Shuiyan immediately said. So it is another quack doctor. Chou'er, take your father's invitation to invite another doctor. Slow down. Gao Yang said unhappily. I only said it is difficult and did not say that the serious illness cannot be treated. You all invited me over for a house visit and now look for another doctor. What is General Shun's intention? You really can save younger Biao sister? Shun Qiu took a step forward and asked. If it is delayed for a while more, this one would be helpless. Gao Yang said. Good. Shen Xian said, do not doubt the person you use. If you doubt, do not use it. I believe you. If Imperial Physician Gao is able to cure Tanner, the Shun family will definitely offer a large sum of money. Gao Yang laughed and said, one dare not dare. A doctor has the heart of a parent and there is no need for money. Young Lady Luo's life is hanging by a thread and cannot be delayed. This one must first perform acupuncture on young Lady Luo and ask everyone to wait outside. Luo Shuiyan was still somewhat hesitant, but Shen Xian had already walked out. He had traveled extensively and knew that some capable people had some strange habits. Moreover, one's medical skills were most afraid to be spread out, and it seemed that Gao Yang was afraid that others would see it. Shen Qiu and Luo Ling also followed closely behind Shen Xian. When Luo Shuiyan saw this, no matter how worried she was, she could only follow them out. Only Gao Yang and the unconscious Luotan were left in the room. Gao Yang put down his medical box. As he opened it, he mumbled to himself, what does all this have to do with me? I'm the one who has to contribute. He took out a cloth bag and opened it. Inside were dozens of golden needles of different shapes and sizes. Gao Yang said, it is one thing to please Shen Miao, but now one also want to please one's family? He shook his head and reached out to untie Luotan's clothes and said rather helplessly, I have offended you. This one also did not want to do so. If you want to be responsible, then go to the residence of Prince Rui, the one wearing the mask. Time passed quickly and 2 days passed in a row. In these 2 days, Imperial Physician Gao from the palace had indeed displayed his outstanding medical skills. While the group of physicians were at their wits' end, Gao Yang performed 2 acupuncture treatments and had someone brew 2 bowls of medicine for Luotan. Luotan's breathing gradually stabilized, and her pulse was much stronger than before. If another physician came to take a look, they would at least say that her life was saved. Changing from her previous suspicious attitude towards Gao Yang, Luo Shuiyan treated Gao Yang as a distinguished guest. Because she was afraid that Luotan's illness would relapse midway, and it just so happened that Gao Yang's acupuncture treatment still needed 2 more times, thus Luo Shuiyan let Gao Yang stay in the Shen mansion. It was convenient to check on Luotan's illness daily. Luotan's illness was stabilized, but there was no good news from Shen Miao's side. When Emperor Wen Hui learned of the matter, he flew into a rage. Putting aside his prejudice against Shen Xian, someone had kidnapped a daughter of an official's family under the feet of the Son of Heaven, especially when the Qing country and the Great Liang's envoys had not left. Was it not a clear indication that there was a rebellion in the Ding capital, and the commoners could not live and work in peace and contentment? Thus he acquiesced to Shen Xian's actions of searching for a female. Chapter 558. But even after digging 3 feet into the Ding capital, one could not find Shen Miao's whereabouts. It was as if those people had vanished into thin air. The common people's families had been checked from house to house, so the next step of investigation would be to investigate those official households in the Ding capital. But the relationships between the officials were complicated, and if one was not careful, it would cause great chaos. Thus Emperor Wen Hui was not willing. Thus they fell into a stalemate. The soldiers patrolled the streets all day and the public security in the Ding capital was much better. But to the Shen family, it was tantamount to a raging fire, making them even more anxious. In the study of the residence of the Marquis of Lin, and Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongchao were chatting. Xie Chongwu said. The Shen family is watching too closely, and we have no way to transport Shen Miao out. If this goes on, one fear that Princess Mingyan would blame. In fact, Princess Mingyan was already angry. Even though the Xie brothers had successfully captured Shen Miao, but Princess Mingyan now hated Shen Miao to the bones, and could not wait to see Shen Miao reduced to the brothel, where she could neither live nor die. Who knew that because Shen Xian had created such a big scene outside to search for someone, Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao dared not act rashly, and Shen Miao had been locked up in the secret chamber of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage. So how could Princess Mingyan, who was an impatient person, endure it? Early in the morning, someone was sent over to warn Xie Chongwu that if he did not send Shen Miao out, then the previous transaction would be invalid. In front were Shen Xian's subordinates going door to door to take stock, and behind was Princess Mingyan's indiscriminate pressure. No matter how astute Xie Chongwu was, he could not help but feel a headache. Second older brother need not be anxious. Shen Xian is very powerful and we naturally need to ensure that we are not exposed. Xie Chongqiao said. I'm not in a hurry, but the princess is urging me very much. When Xie Chongwu spoke till here, he could not help but complain. She did not think that at such a time if there was a mistake, she would not be able to escape. Enough. Xie Chongqiao said. What the princess wants to see is nothing more than Shen Miao being humiliated by others. Even though we cannot send Shen Miao out, we can send people in. It was not illegal for the residents of the Marquis of Lin and to recruit rough servants and buy people from the Momo's hands, right? There shouldn't be anything suspicious, right? Xie Chongwu was stunned. Not bad. Princess Mingyan only wanted to see someone humiliate Shen Miao. Now that the situation outside was tense and Shen Miao could not be sent out, why not bring outsiders back? If Shen Miao were to become an exclusive slave, would it satisfy Princess Mingyan's mentality? Third brother, Xie Chongwu said. You have already thought of it? Father has a social event with the Minister of Revenue today. You and I cannot be absent at the same time, otherwise we will be suspected. Xie Chongqiao said. Second older brother, you go first. I will get the mama in charge to buy a few servants. After the matter is done, then report to the princess. These days because they were since they were they to shun to the matters to shun, they that shun affairs. Xian they xia that they to meet. They in people. Young people in xia. Chonghe and xia to buy to say, third xia people to. Xie Chongqiao complied. After Xie Chongwu left, Xie Chongqiao then took out the secret room key from his sleeve and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Shen Miao stayed in the secret chamber for 2 days. Even though she did not know how long it was, she could guess from the number of times the food was sent. Her heart could not help but sink. It had already been 2 days, and since these people did not make a move on her, it meant that Shen Xian's movements were really big. However, no one had found this place even after making such a big commotion. This could only mean that the Xie brothers' bargaining chip was correct. It was very difficult for anyone to think of this place. While he was deep in thought, he heard footsteps outside and the door was pushed open. In the dim light, that person met Shen Miao's gaze and was startled for a moment before smiling. These few days you always pretend to be asleep every time I come. Why not today? Chapter 559. Xie Chongqiao was somewhat similar to Xie Chongwu, but compared to Xie Chongwu's forbearance, he was more impetuous. At this moment he walked closer to Shen Miao and saw that Shen Miao had already used up half of the water and rice. He clicked his tongue twice and said regretfully, Not only your Princess Highness, actually I also want to see how a young lady looks like when she eats like a dog. Why did you not wait for me? Shen Miao looked at him coldly. For a moment, Shen Miao felt that she could understand why Xie Jingxing hated these 2 Shu younger brothers. Just like Shen Qing and Shen Yu. Shen Qing and Shen Yu still had to cover up their evil intentions, but Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao had the face of a villain, and did not even bother to cover up their viciousness. Seemingly angered by Shen Miao's contemptuous gaze, Xie Chongqiao suddenly pinched Shen Miao's chin and forced her to stare at him. Xie Chongqiao said, Shen young lady still do not know. General Shen and Shen Foreign are currently searching for your whereabouts in the entire Ding capital. There is a reward of 10,000 taels of gold, but unfortunately no one has claimed it. Say, if I were to send you out, Would I be able to get 10,000 taels of gold? Shen Miao did not speak. Unfortunately, I am also working for others and naturally cannot let you out so easily. Xie Chongqiao smiled again. Do not worry. After today, your days will be slightly better. Her Princess Highness originally planned to sell you to a low-grade brothel, but unfortunately General Shen is chasing too hard. Thus we can only open the brothel in the Marquis residence. Shen Miao's eyes slightly sunk. Seemingly very satisfied with Shen Miao's attitude, Xie Chongqiao leaned closer to Shen Miao and almost whispered in her ear in a strange tone. In the morning I instructed the mama in charge to recruit a few burly men to look after the courtyard. They must be the kind of strong farmers. Say, after tonight, will you still have the strength to glare at me? Shen Miao's eyes hung down and the hands in her sleeves secretly touched that hairpin with a hook. These 2 days she was not idle, and with an incredible perseverance, she slowly used the hairpin to grind the ropes on her hands and feet. She estimated that until now, the ropes on her hands and feet would only have a little bit of connection, and she would be able to break free with a light struggle. At that time she would use the hairpin to blind Xie Chongqiao's eyes. In this world, the road is walked by oneself. The so-called dead end is just because one doesn't have the courage to try it. Xie Chongqiao said. But I am not willing to hand over such a delicate little beauty like you to others. An official's daughter with soft skin and tender flesh. He bit heavily on the 2 words daughter and smiled. Why don't you let me enjoy it first? Back then, that little bastard Xie Jingxing seemed to treat you differently. Xie Chongqiao's smile was somewhat vulgar. I have been brothers with him for more than 10 years and understand him the best. One fear that the relationship between you and him is not ordinary. Why is young lady Shen Xie Jingxing's lover? Xie Chongqiao's words were so unpleasant to hear that Shen Miao also showed a little anger. However, this anger seemed to please Xie Chongqiao as he laughed. It does not matter if you are his mistress. For so many years, that little bastard had suppressed us 2 brothers in the residence of the Marquis of Lin, and for so many years. Today I will sleep with his woman, and this feeling is not bad. He smiled evilly. Young lady Shen should thank me. Your first time is given to me, a young master of an official's family. It is much better than those peasants rolling in the mud. After me, you will then know what is called real rudeness. He suddenly pulled Shen Miao's head over and rubbed his thumb on Shen Miao's face. There was an intoxicated look on his face, but it made one feel nauseous. Shen Miao's eyes were calm, but she was calculating when to poke the hairpin into Xie Chongqiao's eye, and how to stab his other eye. After crippling both of his eyes, see how he would run amok. Xie Chongqiao's eyes slightly sobered up and his face suddenly sunk as he looked at Shen Miao. Why are you not afraid? Shen Miao looked at him. Xie Chongqiao's face sunk and seemed to be very displeased with her indifferent reaction. Why are you not afraid? Are you still waiting for someone to save you? Shen Miao said. What exactly do you want to do? Xie Chongqiao suddenly leaped up and Shen Miao could not dodge in time and was thrown onto the ground by him. This time she could not care about anything else and used her hands and feet to break free from the ropes. But before she could reach out to take out the hairpin, Xie Chongqiao started to gnaw on her body. It was as if he was crazy as he mumbled. Who are you waiting for to save you? Could it be that Xie Jingxing who died? Shen Miao managed to take out the hairpin with much difficulty. Xie Chongqiao's back was facing her and his face was buried in Shen Miao's neck as he was about to tear off her clothes. Shen Miao's eyes were cold as she raised her hand and was about to stab at his back. But when her peripheral vision swept to the door, she suddenly stopped. Do you think that Xie Jingxing will come and save you? Xie Chongqiao shouted. That little bastard has already been skinned and beheaded. He died until not even his bones were left. A calm and restrained majestic voice sounded faintly in the empty secret room. Is it? Chapter 560. Really? A male's low and deep voice sounded in the spacious secret chamber. This voice was very calm and could even be said to be pleasing to the ears, but at this moment, it seemed to have a power that made one's heart palpitate, making one's hair stand on end. Xie Chongqiao was surprised for a moment and let go of Shen Miao in a lightning speed before turning his head to look at the incoming person. There were bull horns hanging on the walls of the secret chamber, and torches were placed in the horns. The burning torches were bright, and the dim secret chamber seemed to be divided into 2 parts. The person on the other side was standing in the dark, and with the dim light from the torches, his appearance could be vaguely seen. It was a young man with an extremely tall and straight stature. He wore a dark-colored cloak made of embroidered rat fur, revealing a violet gold brocade robe, deerskin green boots, and a dark gold belt. Even in such a gloomy place, it didn't conceal his noble aura in the slightest. And he was wearing a half-silver mask on his face which clearly had an extremely cold color, but under the illumination of the torches in the secret chamber, there was some warmth that made one involuntarily attracted. Xie Changqiao was sluggish for a moment before suddenly calling out, "Your Highness Prince Rui." He had seen this person at Ming Qi's tribute banquet, and also met this person at the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace banquet. If the person wearing the half-silver mask was not Prince Rui of the Great Liang, who else could it be? But why would Prince Rui of the Great Liang suddenly appear in this place? Xie Changqiao's heart suddenly sank as he asked, "How did you know of this place?" This was the secret chamber in the residence of the Marquis of Lin, and even if Prince Rui had the ability to sneak in, he would definitely not be able to find this secret chamber. Xie Ding did not know anything about this secret chamber, and in the entire residence of the Marquis of Lin, and only Xie Changwu and Xie Changqiao knew about it. Prince Rui of the Great Liang was an outsider, so how did he find this place? Xie Changwu would definitely not say it out. The moment Shen Miao saw Xie Jingxing appear, she was relieved and rejoiced in her heart. She could fight it out with Xie Changqiao and might be able to think of other ways to escape, but there was always a chance. If anything bad happened, it would be more dangerous in the future. Xie Jingxing's appearance seemed to have omitted the word accident. "Speak. Why do you know that there is a secret chamber here?" Xie Changqiao's heart suddenly had a strong uneasiness, and this kind of uneasiness was not because the other party was Prince Rui of the Great Liang, but it was an instinctive fear that came from the bottom of his heart. But only he and Xie Changwu knew about this secret chamber, and even his subordinates did not know about it. Today he came alone, and it was too late to escape now. There is no place in the residence of the Marquis. The purple-robed youth slowly strode forward, moving from the darkness to the light. Under the illumination of the bright torch, the silver mask flickered with a dazzling luster. He curled his lips, but it was hard to tell if his smile was sarcastic or sincere. He slowly reached out to touch the mask on his face. Shen Miao was slightly startled. Xie Changqiao swallowed his saliva and stared unblinkingly at the purple-clad youth in front of him. The silver mask was taken off. The light climbed up the young man's almost perfect face inch by inch. His facial features were so handsome that even the scorching sun would lose its color. His half-smile and mischievous expression were still the same. His pair of peach blossom eyes, after years of precipitation, had restrained the frivolity of his youth, giving birth to a bit of indifference and a bit of depth. However, like a small boat sailing on the dark starry night, looking down, his eyes were still bright. Compared to 2 years ago, Xie Jingxing was more handsome, more steady, more unfathomable, and more dangerous. It was Xie Jingxing who had his heart pierced by thousands of arrows on the battlefield, and his skin was flayed and dried. In the history of Ming Qi, he had already become a Sai. Xie Changqiao did not dare to believe his eyes. He shouted, "Xie Jingxing! Xie Jingxing!" Chapter 561. It is hard for you to still remember my name. Xie Jingxing walked forward with a smile, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "Long time no see, Xie Changqiao. Are you not dead?" Fear started to appear on Xie Changqiao's face as he spoke anxiously. "Were you not pierced by tens of thousands of arrows in the northern border battlefield and skinned to dry in public, and died without a corpse remaining? Are you a human or a ghost? Do not come over." He spoke quickly and anxiously, as if this would be able to cover up the fear in his heart, as if he kept on saying the news of Xie Jingxing's death, those words would become a fact. Xie Jingxing said, "Do you say that I am a human or a ghost?" Xie Changqiao was surprised. The youth in front of him was dressed in luxurious clothes, and his posture was elegant to the bones. If one were to say that Xie Jingxing 2 years ago was a very gorgeous treasured sword, then now this treasured sword was finally unsheathed with a restrained killing intent, but no one could ignore the sharp edge of the blade. Xie Changqiao's gaze landed on the silver mask in Xie Jingxing's hands, and his heart moved. If Xie Jingxing was really a ghost, how could he still appear with the identity of Prince Rui? Xie Chongqiao remembered clearly that when the Xie Jingxing in front of him wore the mask, he was clearly the Great Liang's Prince Rui. No wonder he and Xie Chongwu always felt that the Great Liang's Prince Rui was similar to a person but could not remember. Now thinking about it, there was no doubt that it was Xie Jingxing. It was just that the matter of Xie Jingxing dying on the battlefield 2 years ago was known by everyone, and no one would link Prince Rui with a person who had died 2 years ago. One did not know that this person had long stolen the beam and replaced the pillar. Thinking about this, Xie Chongqiao suddenly sneered. So it was like this. So you did not die but ran to the Great Liang to seek shelter. One did not know what methods you used to become the Great Liang's Prince Rui. You faked your death to commit treason and are not fit to be a descendant of the Xie family. If father knew of this matter, he would definitely humiliate you. Eldest brother, this younger brother really admires you. Shun Miao had already retreated to a corner, and was somewhat surprised when she heard that. She did not expect that Xie Chongqiao would think that Xie Jingxing had become a thief of Mingqi and sought shelter in the Great Liang, but did not think that no matter how the Great Liang treated talented people, the identity of Emperor Yongli's younger brother was not casually given to others. Sure enough, Xie Jingxing chuckled and his eyes turned cold. Do not mix your dirty blood with me. Xie Chongqiao, you are not qualified to be my brother. Xie Chongqiao smiled in disdain. Could it be that you think that with the identity of Prince Rui, you are really the younger brother of the Great Liang's Emperor Yonglu? Xie Jingxing, you have always thought that you are a cut above others, but now you have learned to daydream. Xie Jingxing declined to comment. When Xie Chongqiao saw this, his expression slowly changed and he said, You are really Prince Rui of the Great Liang? So, Xie Jingxing stared at him. Did I tell you not to touch my things? Xie Chongqiao was startled. Ever since he and Xie Chongwu were young, they hated Xie Jingxing. The servants of the residence of the Marquis of Lin and were originally old people who followed Princess Yu Qing, and when they gathered together to talk, Xie Chongqiao heard that it was Madame Fang who forced Princess Yu Qing to death. Xie Chongqiao did not know that Princess Yu Qing, who died when they were born, but he hated Xie Jingxing. There was no other reason but because Xie Ding doted on Xie Jingxing for no reason. Xie Jingxing forever occupied the best things in the residence of the Marquis of Lin and food, clothing and toys. No one dared to stop Xie Jingxing from doing anything, even if he committed a huge mistake, even if he beat a prince or a young master of a high-ranking official's family. Xie Ding would only personally apologize and treat Xie Jingxing lightly. There was a time when a tiger skin was sent over from the sea, and was given to Xie Jingxing by Xie Ding. It was a very rare complete tiger skin. Xie Chongqiao and Xie Chongwu were young, and secretly went to Xie Jingxing's room to play with that tiger skin for an afternoon. Chapter 562. Afterwards, when Xie Jingxing returned, Xie Chongqiao would always remember Xie Jingxing's expression. Xie Jingxing looked at the fur that was crawled over by the Xie Chongqiao brothers, and casually let the housekeeper take it and burn it. He said, "Do not touch my things. Dirty." Xie Ding scolded the two Xie brothers, but did not scold Xie Jingxing, who made a big fuss over a minor issue. From that time onwards, Xie Chongqiao had an obsession with Xie Jingxing's things. It was the same for Shan Miao. So when he heard Xie Jingxing's words, he immediately laughed and looked at Shan Miao, who was at the corner, before saying maliciously, "Xie Jingxing, so what about it? I touched your woman and you want to be like in the past and burn her? I just touched her. Do you find it dirty?" Shan Miao's gaze was heavy. Xie Chongqiao indeed had the ability to make others want to kill him the moment he opened his mouth. Not to mention Xie Jingxing, who had a strong temperament, even with her good temper since her rebirth. She also wanted to drag Xie Chongqiao out and behead him. She is not the same as the tiger skin. Xie Jingxing smiled gently. That year the tiger skin was worthless in my eyes, so I burned it. Now, his eyes were cold and the words he said were gentle, but there was a biting chill. I thought that you were too dirty, so it is better to burn you. Xie Chongqiao first smiled in disdain, but as he smiled, he saw Xie Jingxing's calm and unruffled expression, and suddenly he could not smile anymore. Xie Chongqiao sat on the ground and took a step back. He resisted the fear in his heart and said, "What do you want to do? Xie Chongqiao, after so many years, you still did not make any progress. Xie Jingxing seemed to be somewhat disappointed with his reaction and sighed. You have seen my face. Do you think that I will let you live? Shen Miao actually felt that it was somewhat funny. Xie Chongqiao was like a child in front of Xie Jingxing. So it was no wonder that Xie Jingxing would feel disappointed. Early on when Xie Jingxing took off his mask, Shen Miao was clear in her heart that Xie Chongqiao would not be able to walk out alive today. Xie Chongqiao's eyes revealed a deep fear as he said, You do not dare. I am father's son and this is the residence of the Marquis of Lineage. If you kill me, others will find out your identity and you will not have a good time. Do not worry. Xie Jingxing smiled gently. Today the Marquis of Lineage and Xie Chongwu will attend the banquet and return at night. No one will discover your whereabouts. He said, seeing that you've called me big brother for so many years, I'll take care of you and won't leave you alone on the road to the Yellow Springs. Xie Chongwu will come down to accompany you. There is no need to say thanks. Xie Chongqiao seemed to finally believe that Xie Jingxing was serious and stood up to run outside. But he was not Xie Jingxing's opponent 2 years ago, so how could he escape from Xie Jingxing's hands now? Before he could even see clearly, he was kicked in the knee from behind, and in the blink of an eye his throat was stuck. Just as Shen Miao was looking, suddenly there was darkness in front of her and something was in front of her. When one reached out, it was Xie Jingxing's cloak. Xie Jingxing used the cloak to cover her head and said, Don't look. The tone was gentle but the other end was mercilessly tightening Xie Chongqiao's throat, and one could clearly hear the crisp sound of the bones in the secret chamber. With a dong sound, Shen Miao pulled the cloak off her head. Xie Jingxing had already used a handkerchief to wipe his hands, and Xie Chongqiao was lying on the ground with his eyes wide open. It was obvious that he was no longer breathing. Xie Jingxing's moves were decisive and ruthless. It was the first time Shen Miao saw him kill, but seeing his calm expression, she could not help but sigh in her heart. She handed the cloak to Xie Jingxing and when Xie Jingxing saw it, he swept a glance at her and turned his head away. Keep it for yourself. Chapter 563. Shen Miao followed his line of sight and discovered that when she was struggling with Xie Chongqiao, her clothes were torn by Xie Chongqiao. Now she was exposed and even the doo-doo could be seen. She was surprised for a moment and scolded Xie Chongqiao in her heart before covering herself with Xie Jingxing's cloak. Xie Jingxing's cloak was too big for her and the front buttons could not be buttoned up. Thus Shen Miao could not do it for a long time. Xie Jingxing saw that she did not react for a long time and turned his head, just in time to see that Shen Miao was still doing the buttons of the cloak, so he walked over and squatted down in front of Shen Miao. He took out the belt from the collar of the cloak and tied it properly for Shen Miao. His hands were very good-looking, the joints were clear and slender, and the action of tying the belt was dexterous and gentle, if one ignored his cold face. Shen Miao looked up at him. Xie Jingxing's eyelashes were extremely long and when they drooped down, his sharp eyes became soft, showing a rare gentleness. He was concentrating on tying the knot, but from the beginning to the end, he had a cold face as if he was in a bad mood, but one did not know who had provoked him. After tying a strong bow knot, Xie Jingxing had yet to stand up when Shen Miao said, Actually you do not need to kill him. She was talking about Xie Chongqiao. Xie Jingxing actually did not need to kill Xie Chongqiao, as what Xie Chongqiao said was right. Even though he was a Shu's son, he was after all Xie Ding's son. Even though one did not know why Xie Jingxing stayed in Mingqi, but this would definitely bring him some unnecessary trouble. He saw my face, thus one cannot leave him alive, Xie Jingxing said. Shen Miao rolled her eyes in her heart. No one wanted to see Xie Jingxing's face, and from the beginning till now, it was Xie Jingxing who took the initiative to take off his mask. Xie Jingxing basically had the intention to kill Xie Chongqiao, so there was no need to find such a far-fetched reason. Go out less in the future. Xie Jingxing said, If I came any later, something would have happened to you today. When he said those words, he slightly frowned and had a cold face, with some appearance of inculcating. Shen Miao was speechless for a moment and thought for a moment before saying, How are my father, mother and eldest brother now? The entire Shen family's army was dispatched and searched from house to house in the Ding capital, but returned without any success. Xie Jingxing said, No one guessed that you are hiding in the residence of the Marquis of Lin and pausing. He then said, Luotan's injuries are very serious and she has been unconscious. Gao Yang had already gone to the Shen mansion to save her, and one heard that the situation is not bad. Luotan is injured? Shen Miao was surprised for a moment. Why is the injury so serious? A knife wound. Xie Jingxing turned his head and looked at Shen Miao. You do not know? Shen Miao shook her head. At that time I was knocked unconscious and brought onto the horse. I don't know what happened after that. After a moment of silence, Shen Miao suddenly thought of something and looked at Xie Jingxing. Luotan was injured and did not wake up, so how did you find this place? Xie Jingxing was somewhat puzzled. What do you mean? Shen Miao's heart moved. Luotan was seriously injured and unconscious, so naturally it was impossible for her to see Xie Jingxing, and it was also impossible for her to tell Xie Jingxing about what she entrusted to him. Then Xie Jingxing coming to save them was his own idea? Shen Miao's mood was somewhat complicated in a moment. It was Xie Jingxing's eyes that slightly flashed and he suddenly got close to Shen Miao. His hands were by Shen Miao's side, as if he was holding her in his embrace. He said with his lips raised, from your meaning, you let Luotan look for me? Ask me for help? Shen Miao pushed him away. She knew that Xie Jingxing was smart and could not hide it from him. She said, just felt that you have this ability and moreover your identity is much more convenient. She emphasized, I let Luotan look for you and it was a deal. When you rescue me, I will naturally pay the corresponding reward. Chapter 564. Payment. Xie Jingxing said in an unconcerned manner, the Shen family will offer 10,000 of gold, but I do not care as the Great Liang treasury has a lot of it. What can you pay? Shen Miao gritted her teeth. As long as one does not devote one's body, naturally everything is possible. Xie Jingxing raised his brows as he looked at her and sighed. So you are thinking like this. Could it be that you are reminding me of the fact that you want to marry me? Women should be graceful and reserved. It's not good for you to be like this. Shen Miao could only respond with a sneer. Never mind. Xie Jingxing said, saving someone is a small matter to me, and I will not make things difficult for you. The remuneration is simple. He stared at Shen Miao and said with a smile that was not a smile, write poems, play the qin, make pastries and do needlework. For the time being just these few. Shen Miao. She said, another one. This prince wants this. Xie Jingxing refused Shen Miao's words. He seemed to feel that the ground was a little cold and pulled Shen Miao up. Currently one cannot send you back to the Shen mansion. You have been missing for a total of 3 days and rumors are everywhere. If one were to return now, it would be hard to avoid suspicion. Xie Jingxing said, I will arrange for someone to send you to the princess residence. Rongyi will help you. Shen Miao was startled and looked at Xie Jingxing before asking, Princess Rong Exine also know of your identity? Xie Jingxing shook his head. Among the people of Mingqi, you are the only one. Shen Miao was silent. Xie Jingxing looked at Xie Chongqiao's corpse on the ground and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes before he suddenly said, but today in order to save you, I made a move to kill and inevitably cause trouble. This happened because of you. From now on we're in the same boat. You're my ally. Do you understand? I did not seem to agree. Shen Miao was flustered. It's enough that I agree. Xie Jingxing said cheerfully. He snapped his fingers and 2 men dressed in black walked in. Move it back. Xie Jingxing used his feet to touch Xie Chongqiao's body. Shen Miao was surprised. What do you want his corpse for? Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows. There is a great use. Tai Yi and Nanqi carried Xie Chongqiao's corpse out. It was also fortunate that Xie Chongwu and his brother had built such a secret chamber that even the servants in the residence of the Marquis of Lin and did not know that there was a tunnel dug in the secret chamber, and one could directly go outside. It was much easier to walk. It had been a long time since a guest came to the princess mansion. Ever since the news of Xie Jingxing's death on the battlefield spread, Princess Rong Exine fell seriously ill and after recovering, it seemed that the illness had taken root and she rarely attended imperial family events. He left the princess mansion less and less often, and even when people came to visit, he refused to see them. Everyone knew that this was because Xie Jingxing was dead. Princess Rong Exine did not have any sons in her entire life, and only treated this nephew as her own son. Originally, when Xie Jingxing was alive, he would visit the princess residence every few days. But after Xie Jingxing died in battle and Princess Rong Xian had such a strange temper, it was almost deserted. But today, there was a guest in the princess's mansion. The maid that was sweeping outside was an old servant in the princess residence, and with one look she could tell that the young lady sitting in the carriage had come to the princess residence 2 years ago. At that time Princess Rong Xian had warmly received her, and was called Shun something. That maid could not remember clearly. But the person who reported did not have to wait for long before he saw Princess Rong Xian's personal female official rushing out and welcoming the female guest and the guards by her side. When the remaining few maids who were sweeping saw this, they gathered together and whispered, "Which family's young lady is that?" The princess had not seen any guests in these 2 years and actually saw one today. Looking at that appearance, it seemed that she could not wait. Most likely she had some friendship with the princess in the past. It is rare to see such a person. Chapter 565. 2 years ago she also came over. At that time Gugu, who was by the princess's side, also sent her back to the residence. She is surnamed Shun. The maid at the outermost, who was trying to recall, suddenly had a flash of inspiration and slapped her head. I remember that young lady's name. That young lady is not the daughter of the formidable great general Shan Miao. Everyone was first enlightened before their eyes became very interesting. They naturally recognized Shan Miao. Recently there was an uproar in the Ding capital. She had disappeared for 3 days and Shan Xian was even willing to offer 10,000 taels of gold to save her. Everyone guessed that Shan Miao had met with an accident, and did not think that the main topic of discussion would actually appear in the princess residence. What was Shan Miao doing in the princess residence? Shan Miao sat in the main hall and the maids came over to serve her tea and snacks, but at the end she could feel some eyes that were quietly sizing her up. Shan Miao calmly accepted it. If someone recognized her, they would naturally find it strange that she would appear in the princess residence. But there was no choice. Just like what Xie Jingxing said, she had returned to the residence alone and could not stop the rumors from happening. One had to find a person of high status and power to prove it for her. The last Lantern Festival, Princess Rong Xian had proven it for her. And this time she still needed Princess Rong Xian's help. There was no choice. Princess Rong Xian was an upright person and everyone knew that she was fair to the point of being unreasonable. If it was said from Princess Rong Xian's mouth, no one would doubt it. After a moment, footsteps were heard from behind. Shun Miao turned around and saw Princess Rong Xian, who was being supported by a female official, walking over slowly. Shun Miao could not help but be surprised. The person who came was wearing an autumn-colored robe with a cloak on the outside. Most likely there was some powder on her face, but it could not hide her old age and haggard look. The last time Shun Miao saw Princess Rong Xian 2 years ago, she was still an energetic woman, but now it was as if her soul was taken away in one night, making one's heart feel a little sad when looking at her. Even in the previous lifetime, when Shan Miao reached the end, when Princess Rong Xian had really aged, she did not have such a haggard look. And Shan Miao was well aware of the reason for all of this. It seemed that the news of Xie Jingxing's death was a huge blow to Princess Rong Xian, that she had become this haggard in 2 years. She got up and greeted Princess Rong Xian. When Princess Rong Xian saw her, she revealed a nostalgic expression and there was a smile on her lips. "Not seeing you for 2 years." At that time General Shun left in a hurry and Bengong did not have the time to let people send you some farewell gifts. When you returned to the capital, Bengong caught a cold and did not attend the tribute banquet, thus there was no chance to see you. She sat down in front of the table and indicated for Shan Miao to sit down. Shun Miao nodded her head slightly. "It should be this official's daughter who came to visit. Previously I knew that you are good-looking." Princess Rong Xian smiled as she looked at her. "Seeing you now, it is what Bengong's heart thought. Since young you are a beauty and now you are more outstanding. If this consort's nephew was still alive." Her voice slowly trailed off and a trace of pain flashed through her eyes, but she couldn't continue. Shun Miao also did not know what to say. It was Princess Rong Xian who started laughing again. Bengong always say such unhappy words. Every time he would tell himself not to think about it, but in the end he would always think about it. "Who told you to be unhappy with this consort? You are also sad. Bengong only cared about my own sadness and did not think about how you would feel after hearing it. It is really Bengong's fault. Princess Rong Xian was such a tough person in her bones, but she actually apologized to others. Shen Miao's heart was somewhat surprised, but there was even more sympathy. Xie Jingxing's identity could not be explained to Princess Rong Xian, but from Princess Rong Xian's point of view, the nephew that accompanied her for so many years died so miserably on the battlefield. One could imagine the pain in her heart. Princess Rong Xian smiled. Bengong have heard of your matters. Do not worry, 2 years ago Bengong helped you. This time Bengong will naturally help you. Shen Miao only said that she was kidnapped by criminals, but because of the conflict with the residents of the Marquis of Linan, she was saved by Xie Jingxing's original secret guard. Because Xie Jingxing's secret guard had seen Shen Miao before, he extended a helping hand, but if one were to return to the Shen family rashly, it would cause rumors, thus one had to ask Princess Rong Xian to come forward. As long as Xie Jingxing was mentioned, Princess Rong Xian would be exceptionally tolerant. In addition, that so-called secret guard of Xie Jingxing really had the token that Xie Jingxing gave him, so after Princess Rong Xian personally saw it, she no longer had any doubts. In addition, she had a good impression of Shen Miao, so naturally she readily agreed to help. This official's daughter thanks your Princess Highness. Shen Miao said, this official's daughter is really ashamed to trouble your Princess Highness every time. What kind of trouble is this? Princess Rong Xian smiled bitterly. Originally when Jingxing was around, whenever one made a mistake, one would like to go to the princess residence. Which time the trouble was not bigger than the heavens, but one did not see him feel a trace of guilt. Originally one thought that Bengong would treat it as doing a good deed, and when Bengong is old, it would be Bengong's turn to find trouble for him. Who knew? Princess Rong Xian's smile was somewhat ugly. Now I would like him to find trouble for Bengong, but one cannot wait any longer. Chapter 566. Luotan woke up once in the night. Coincidentally, Shen Xian and entourage were searching for Shen Miao's whereabouts in the Ding capital, and Luoling was in the residence looking after Luotan and Gao Yang, when he suddenly received a report from his subordinates that there seemed to be suspicious people moving around in the western part of the city. Luoling thought of Shen Miao and entrusted Luotan to Gao Yang as he brought his subordinates to the western part of the city. Only Luotan and Gao Yang were left in the room. When Luotan woke up, there were only 2 maids in the room taking care of her, and it was Shen Miao's Bai Lu and Shuangjiang. Seeing that she was awake, they were pleasantly surprised and said, "Biao young lady is finally awake." Luotan felt that her body was a little heavy. Lifting the quilt, she saw that there was actually a white cloth wrapped around the lower part of her clothes. When Bai Lu saw this, she thought that Luotan was worried that she would have a scar in the future and comforted, "Biao young lady is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster." That day the wound was very serious and it scared Master and Furin badly. They had invited several doctors but none of them were able to do anything. It was still that imperial physician Gao in the palace who had superior medical skills. Not only that, imperial physician Gao also left a prescription. As long as Biao young lady applies the medicine according to the prescription, the scar will be very light in the future, and it will be almost invisible. Luotan rubbed her forehead and seemed to remember something. She asked, "How many days have I been unconscious?" Replying to young lady, "You have been unconscious for almost 3 days. Shuangjiang said, 3 days? Luotan jumped in shock and suddenly thought of something. She asked anxiously, "What about youngest Biao's sister? Have you found Biaomei?" Bai Lu and Shuangjiang's expression dimmed as they shook their heads. Luotan's heart gradually sank. She said, "How are aunt and uncle now?" The city is now sealed and Master and Furin have been running around all day searching for young lady's whereabouts, but there is no news. Shuangjiang said, "One do not know how is young lady now. It's already been 3 days. How come there's still no news after 3 days? It's not like those people know any demonic techniques. How can they make people disappear?" Luotan said excitedly. Bai Lu and Shuangjiang looked at each other in dismay but could only lower their heads and not speak. Luotan clenched her fists tightly and was extremely anxious in her heart. At that time she remembered seeing with her own eyes that the 2 villains knocked Shen Miao unconscious and brought her into the carriage. Then, Luo Tan's heart moved and suddenly remembered the words that Shan Miao said to her in the carriage. Remember, if you successfully escape, think of a way to send a letter to Prince Rui's residence. Just say that there's something to trade and the price will be discussed later. Remember, after you successfully escape, find a way to send a letter to the residence. Even though Luo Tan also did not understand how Shan Miao and Prince Rui of the Great Liang would have a friendship in private, but in the 2 years in the Shaochun city, Luo Tan was clear of Shan Miao's temperament and would not do unnecessary things. She stood up and wanted to walk out when Bai Lu and Shuangjiang jumped in shock and quickly came over to support her. What is Biao young lady trying to do? We servants will do it. Young lady Biao's body has not recovered yet. Don't let the wound open again. When Luo Tan stood up, she felt a burst of weakness in her body. It was probably because she had been lying on the bed for too long that her legs and feet were soft. This made her, who had always felt that she was strong, a little angry. However, she said, I have some things to do, don't worry about me. Before he finished speaking, he heard an unfamiliar male voice from outside. Where are you going? Luo Tan raised her head and saw a young man walking in from outside the house. This man was dressed in white and had the appearance of an elegant young master. He was also quite good-looking. He bent down and casually placed it on a small table. He took out a fan from his waist and waved it gently. He asked again, where are you going? Luo Tan frowned. Who is he? Chapter 567. Shuangjiang quickly said, This is Imperial Physician Gao from the palace, and it was he who treated Biao young lady. Now he is staying in our Shun mansion, and it is convenient to change Biao young lady's medicine. Luo Tan frowned. Even though Luo Tan was somewhat masculine and lacked the delicateness of a female, she was the same as thousands of females and loved good-looking things. Previously in the Shaochun city, there would occasionally be a handsome young man on the stage and Luo Tan would pull Shan Miao to reward that young man, which showed that Luo Tan attached great importance to a male's appearance. If it was on normal days, Luo Tan would most likely speak nicely to such a handsome white-clad gentleman, but now her heart was filled with Shan Miao, and even if she met a celestial being, she would not have the mood to appreciate it. She said, Physician Gao, I have an important matter to attend to. Gao Yang couldn't help choking for a bit. He had heard people call him Darren Gao or Imperial Dr. Gao, but he had never heard anyone call him Dr. Gao. This made him feel like he was a doctor in the marketplace, the kind of barefoot doctor that would rush out with a medical box when someone came to ask for it. This was something that Gao Yang, who had always been picky and self-respecting, could not tolerate. He glanced at Luo Tan again. The young girl's skin was not as fair and delicate as the women in the capital. It was a healthy wheat color. Even though she was weak standing there, she was like a plant full of vitality, giving off a refreshing feeling. She frowned as she stared at Gao Yang, and her pretty facial features became even more three-dimensional. It was Gao Yang's first time seeing a person who was stabbed 3 days ago, and could still be so lively after 3 days. Thinking of the first time he saw Luo Tan's frightening injury, Gao Yang could not help but exclaim in surprise. It was difficult for a normal male to persevere with that kind of injury, but Luo Tan, a young female, was able to persevere till she was discovered. Thus her desire to live was very strong. Gao Yang considered himself to be a person who had tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex, but he did not like Shan Miao, that kind of scheming tigress, nor did he like Luo Tan, who was so strong and did not have the slightest tenderness of a female. He immediately said, General Shun and Shun Foreign invited me to treat young lady, and after this one treated young lady ran around causing the old illness to relapse. This one cannot take the hat of not being able to cure, so one request young lady not to casually walk around. Luo Tan was anxious, but she could only patiently explain to him, I have something important to do outside. I will personally tell little aunt and uncle that this matter has nothing to do with you. Is that okay? No. Gao Yang said. As an imperial physician, I have to be responsible for my patients. He emphasized the word imperial physician, hoping that Luo Tan could understand that he was different from those doctors in the marketplace. Luo Tan didn't notice his emphasis, so she said angrily, You are a doctor, what right do you have to control me? Firstly, I am an imperial physician. Secondly, before Brother Luo Ling left, he entrusted young lady to this one. If young lady really have something important on hand, this one can make a trip for young lady. There is no harm in young lady saying it. Luotan bit her lips. At that time Shen Miao told her that the matter of Prince Rui must not be told to others, and it was because Shen Miao trusted Luotan that she told Luotan about it. Luotan had always been stubborn, and in addition to Prince Rui's sensitive identity, she knew that no matter what outsiders must not know, even Shen Miao's maids would not know. She glared at Gao Yang. If young lady changes your mind, then it is better to drink the medicine first. After drinking the medicine, young lady's body will be better and naturally be able to handle the important matters. Gao Yang said with a smile. Luotan asked Bai Lu to bring a bowl of medicine and drank it all in one breath with a gudong sound. She had a heroic appearance, and when she finished drinking, she placed the bowl of medicine down with a pong sound and said to Gao Yang, "Is this enough?" Chapter 568. This one admires. Gao Yang cupped his hands towards Luotan. Good medicine was bitter, and since it was brewed for Luotan, with Luotan's serious injuries, that medicinal concoction was unspeakably bitter that one would feel uncomfortable just by smelling it. Luotan's expression did not change as she drank it down, and one had to praise what an unyielding man. Luotan said, "I want to rest and trouble Dr. Gao to leave early. Bai Lu and Shuangjiang should also leave. I cannot sleep with others in the room. It is so noisy." Gao Yang went out with the two maids with a smile on his face. After everyone left, Luotan stood up and ran to the window to look out. Bai Lu and Shuangjiang were sweeping the courtyard at the other end. She quickly took out her outer clothes and cloak from the room and put them on in a few moments. After thinking about it, she took the few bottles of medicine on the table and put them in her sleeves before moving a stool out of the room and placed it in front of the window and started to climb out. Regarding the matter of sneaking out of the residence to play, Luotan and Luoqian, the siblings, had mastered it to perfection when they were in the Shaochun city. At the end, even if Luo Liantai locked both of them in the room, Luotan and Luoqian would still sneak out and do whatever they needed to do. So Luotan really did not put it in her heart when she was locked in the Shen mansion. The most urgent matter was to quickly go to the residence of Prince Rui to find Prince Rui. Luotan believed Shen Miao's words without a doubt, and felt that as long as she could find Prince Rui, she would definitely be able to save Shen Miao. It was just that the wound on her waist had not healed and a slight movement would cause pain. Luotan could not care about it at this moment as she pressed on the wound and successfully climbed out of the window. At the other end, she familiarly found the corner of the courtyard and pushed aside the weeds by the wall to reveal a dog's hole before entering it without any burden. Luotan did all of this with ease and did not see the white figure standing far away, looking at her actions dumbfoundedly. Gao Yang simply could not believe his own eyes. Even if the Luo family was a military family, even if the Shaochun city's people were valiant, even if Luotan was an official's young lady, it would be hard for her to think of jumping out of the window and going through the dog's hole. Gao Yang thought that in Mingqi, Shen Miao was already considered a weirdo, but he did not expect that Shen Miao's Biao older sister would not be outdone. Indeed, it was a family that would not enter the same door. He shook his head but still followed. Luotan was going crazy. When she went out, she was afraid of alerting others, so she could not bring the Shen mansion's carriage, and after coming out it was not good to find another carriage, so she could only walk over by herself. Even though the distance between the residence of Prince Rui and the Shen mansion was not far, but for someone like her who had just climbed back from the line of life and death, it was too far. However, Luotan did not give up. The willpower of the descendants of the Luo family was always a joke. Even the usually cheerful Luoqian, when it came to serious moments, he could still hold on for a while. Since young, Luo Sui had taught the younger generation to never give up. Therefore, although Luotan felt dizzy and walked with difficulty, she never thought of giving up halfway. Gao Yang watched from afar. He was originally waving his folding fan as if he was watching a show, but in the end he could no longer wave his fan. The girl's entire body was wrapped in a cloak. Others couldn't see her clearly, but he could see her clearly. Luotan couldn't stop trembling. Every 2 steps she had to stop and rest for a while. No one knew the severity of Luotan's injuries other than Gao Yang. Just now in the Shen mansion, even though there was a deliberate intention to tease, But what Gao Yang said was not wrong. Luo Tan's injuries were very easy to split open, and if the injuries were to be pulled, it would definitely be very painful. He could almost guess the beads of sweat that kept appearing on Luo Tan's forehead. But what was surprising was that even if it was like this, Luo Tan did not stop. Every time Gao Yang thought that Luo Tan would stop for a long time because she was not prepared to move forward, Luo Tan would continue. This made Gao Yang very curious, as he wanted to see what Luo Tan was trying to do by not caring about her own safety and crawling out. Chapter 569. This short journey seemed especially long, and Luo Tan missed the time when she was able to jump around. When the 3 words residence of Prince Rue entered her eyes, her legs softened and she almost knelt down. In the end, she did not kneel down because there was a pair of hands behind her that helped her up. Luo Tan turned her head and saw that physician Gao with his white robes and paper fan was helping her to stand up. "You followed me?" Luo Tan shook off his hand and said angrily. "Oh," Gao Yang readily admitted and asked, "You suffered untold hardships just to come to the residence of Prince Rue? Why are you looking for Prince Rue?" Gao Yang had more or less guessed Luo Tan's intention. He had never heard Xie Jingxing talk about Luo Tan before, so the only connection between Xie Jingxing and Luo Tan was Shan Miao. Luo Tan came to look for Xie Jingxing for Shen Miao, and most likely it was because of Shen Miao's whereabouts. Luo Tan looked at Gao Yang in front of her vigilantly, and her heart was very anxious. She did not think that she would meet Gao Yang at this time and was half frustrated and half angry. This person looked like a decent person but would actually do such a shady thing like following others. She was angry that her body was weak. Otherwise, how could she not discover that someone was following behind her? However, Luo Tan did not think that with Gao Yang's ability, even if her body was completely healed, she would not be able to discover Gao Yang's traces. Luo Tan calculated in her heart that the relationship between Shen Miao and Prince Rue must not be known by others. Moreover, this person came from the palace. What if he went back and reported it to Emperor Wen Hui and caused trouble? One had to say that even though Luo Tan was usually careless, she thought long-term about some matters. "Do you know Prince Rue?" Gao Yang asked her. "How could I know Prince Rue?" Luo Tan retorted resolutely. "His Highness Prince Rue is noble and I am just an ordinary official's daughter. How could I know him?" "Then why did you come to look for him?" Gao Yang did not let it go. Luo Tan stuttered because... Her eyes glanced at Gao Yang's face and suddenly an idea came to her mind and she said loudly, "I heard the rumors in the capital that His Highness Prince Rue is a peerlessly beautiful male, so I wanted to see his beautiful face." She did not study well and her idioms were messed up, and she even said the words peerlessly beautiful face. When Gao Yang heard this, he burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at? Just to catch a glimpse of a beautiful face, you disregarded your health and dragged your sick body to come here. Just to catch a glimpse of a beautiful face?" Gao Yang asked. Luo Tan retorted, "What do you know? It's hard to find a good-looking person in this world. Even if there is one, a single glance is precious." Gao Yang shook his head. "I'm also very good-looking. Why don't you look at me? Why did you have to come here?" Luo Tan said, "Dr. Gao, it is important to know oneself." She said, "I will not talk to you anymore. I need to go and see His Highness Prince Rue." As she spoke, she went up the steps and arrived at the entrance of the residence of Prince Rue before innocently saying, "Trouble both of you to inform that I have an important matter to see His Highness Prince Rue." Gao Yang followed closely behind and gave the 2 guards a look. The guards naturally recognized Gao Yang, so they didn't say anything and opened the door. One of them said, "I'll bring the 2 of you inside to wait." Luo Tan looked at Gao Yang. "What are you doing here?" Gao Yang said, "I also want to see your beautiful face. If young lady does not allow me to enter, then this one can only return to the Shen mansion. If Shen Foreign and General Shen return and ask..." "Wait." Luo Tan interrupted his words and glared at him hatefully. "Follow me in." The 2 guards looked at each other in dismay, and were somewhat unable to make heads or tails of the situation in front of them. Originally they thought that Gentleman Gao brought a young lady to the residence of Prince Rue. Looking at it now, it seemed that young lady came to the residence of Prince Rue and brought Gentleman Gao. Chapter 570. Gao Yang and Luotan waited for a moment in the main hall, and after half an incense stick of time, His Highness Prince Rui, who was wearing a mask, appeared. Luotan's heart was anxious. If it was in the past, this was the first time she had such close contact with Prince Rui. She would definitely open her eyes wide to see what kind of person Prince Rui was. However, the current situation did not wait for anyone. Every moment they waited, Shen Miao would be in more danger. She took a look at Gao Yang, who was still drinking tea, and said to Prince Rui, "May your Highness Prince Rui step aside for a moment to speak." As Luotan waited nervously, Prince Rui nodded his head slightly. Luotan was secretly delighted in her heart, thinking that this Prince Rui was not as unapproachable as the rumors. After entering the isolated world, Luotan knelt down without a second word and said, "Pleading your Highness Prince Rui to save my youngest Biao sister." She repeated what Shen Miao had taught her and finally said, "Since youngest Biao sister believes in His Highness Prince Rui, this official's daughter also believed that His Highness Prince Rui will definitely be able to save youngest Biao sister." Even though this official's daughter was unable to take out anything at the moment, if youngest Biao sister was found, the Shen family would definitely reward Prince Rui. "I beg your Highness Prince Rui to save me." She kowtowed to the ground. Although Luotan also had pride in her bones, it was different from other people who would rather die than kneel to outsiders. Luotan was an honest person, and from her point of view, Prince Rui was after all part of the imperial family of the Great Liang, and it would not be a loss to kowtow. If one were to say some nice words to make him happy and save Shen Miao, then what was there to mind doing all these? She kowtowed happily, but she didn't notice that her action seemed to have startled the man. "I understand," Prince Rui said. Luotan felt a little strange, but she couldn't tell what it was. She subconsciously said, "Does your Highness Prince Rui agree to rescue this official's daughter's youngest Biao sister?" Prince Rui lightly nodded his head. "Many thanks, your Highness Prince Rui." Luotan kowtowed to him joyfully and was about to stand up. Who knew that as soon as he stood up, his vision would go black and he would suddenly fall down. He had actually fainted. Prince Rui jumped in shock and subconsciously reached out to scoop as he called out, "Someone come! Gao Yang!" Gao Yang came in from outside and was shocked at first. He quickly stepped forward and grabbed Luotan's arm to check her pulse. After a while, he put down his hand and sighed. "Her body is too weak. Make a bowl of ginseng soup for her, and when she wakes up, I will send her back to the Shen mansion." Two maids came in from outside and carried the fainted Luotan to the bed. When Gao Yang and Prince Rui walked out of the room, Prince Rui snorted and suddenly lifted the silver mask on his face. "I am suffocated to death. Why do you want me to pretend to be third older brother?" This person was not Xie Jingxing but Ji Yushu. One do not know when he will return, and one cannot let Luotan stay in the residence of Prince Rui until the sky turns dark. At that time, when the Shen family comes knocking on the door, it would be hard to explain. Anyway, third Xie has already gone to inquire about Shen Miao's whereabouts, so you just need to pretend to deal with it and let her leave earlier. Gao Yang said. Ji Yushu waved his hands. "I cannot take it if it happens a few more times. This is the first time in my life that someone knelt down and kowtowed to me. I am not a bodhisattva, so would this shorten my lifespan? This girl really is a bit too fierce. When she knelt just now, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. Fortunately, I didn't make any mistakes. Otherwise, if third brother knew that I ruined his appearance, he would definitely beat me up." Gao Yang said. "Fortunately, she is stupid." "You are saying that I did not pretend to look like it?" Ji Yushu said angrily. "I pretended that the person kowtowed to me. How is it not like it?" Gao Yang waved his hands. "I am too lazy to talk to you. But why did she call you physician, Gao?" Ji Yushu said suspiciously. "You are no longer in the palace and have changed to a physician?" Gao Yang. Chapter 571. When Luotan woke up, it was already evening. When she woke up, Gao Yang happened to come over to give her medicine. Luotan did not stand on ceremony as she took the medicine and gulped it down with a gudong-gudong sound. Gao Yang's mouth twitched at the sight of this heroine who was not inferior to any man. After drinking the medicine, Luotan wiped her mouth and looked at the gradually darkening sky outside the window. "I have to return. Where is His Highness Prince Rui? I will go and thank him." Gao Yang looked at her sideways. No need. Prince Rui had already left. If you want to thank him, it might be after tomorrow. Luotan was stunned at first, but then she was overjoyed. Thinking that Prince Rui had left so quickly, he must have gone to save Shen Miao. He had just told him about the matter and he took action so quickly. It seemed that Prince Rui was also a kind-hearted person. Thinking about it, Luotan's impression of Prince Rui in her heart went up a level. Gao Yang looked at the suddenly happy Luotan and said, "Since that's the case, let's pack up and leave." "All right." Luotan happily got up from the bed and put on her shoes. She suddenly thought of something and asked, "Are you coming back with me?" "Naturally," Gao Yang said. "If not for General and Madam strongly urging me to stay, this one wouldn't want to either. There are still many noble ladies in the palace waiting for me to treat them," Gao Yang emphasized. Luotan looked at him with some sympathy. "Dr. Gao has been working too hard all day. If that's the case, you should hurry back to the palace. It won't be good if your work is delayed and your money is deducted." Gao Yang. Why did Luotan always say that being an imperial physician was a job that everyone could do? And he didn't even have any status? Gao Yang was puzzled. He gritted his teeth and said, "There is no need. I have already asked for leave from the Imperial Academy of Medicine." Luotan made a sound of. She turned her head and rolled her eyes, hiding the disdain in her eyes. As a man, he was quite handsome, but when he had nothing better to do, he went to follow a maiden and even lustfully wanted to see Prince Ding's beautiful face. No matter how good his medical skills were, he had no medical ethics. Shameless. Sick in the head. No matter what, at the end Gao Yang still followed Luotan back to the Shun mansion. On the way back, out of fear that Luotan's wound would worsen, Gao Yang found a horse carriage. Returning to the Shun residence, Shun Xian and entourage had all returned. Seeing the two of them return, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Shun Qiu asked, "Biao younger sister, Imperial Physician Gao, where are you all going?" Everyone thought that Luotan was kidnapped again and Shun Qiu even suspected that Gao Yang was a spy from somewhere, and that it was Gao Yang who kidnapped Luotan. "Yes, Tanner, you haven't recovered yet. Where did you go?" Luotan's expression stiffened. The matter of Shun Miao and Prince Rui could not be said no matter what, so one had to find an excuse to muddle through. She stammered, I was the one who brought her out." Gao Yang cupped his hands in obeisance and said, "Miss Luo's body has not recovered yet, but being cooped up in the house all day, her mood is gloomy and it is not beneficial for her recovery. I will take her out for a walk. It will help Miss Luo's wounds recover faster." Hearing that, Luo Shuiyan's suspicions then disappeared, but there was still some complaint in her words as she said to Gao Yang, "Imperial Physician Gao has good intentions, but if it were to happen again, it is better to inform the servants. Tanner did not bring a single maid with her, and we thought that something happened to her." Gao Yang blushed and said, "It is this one who did not consider it thoroughly and apologized to Furen." Never mind, never mind." Luo Shuiyan waved her hands. Luotan's heart was relieved. Even though her gaze towards Gao Yang was not warm, it was better than before. Gao Yang took the blame for her and Luotan's heart was grateful. The Luo family paid particular attention to gratitude and Luotan thought that she would give Gao Yang more consultation fees and not haggle over the previous matter. "But why do I not see older brother Ling?" Luotan stretched her neck and looked around. Shen Xian, Luo Shuiyan and Shen Qiu were all here but Luo Ling was missing. "You are not together?" Shen Xian asked with a frown. Luotan shook her head. "Then that is strange." Luo Shuiyan also said, "Today before going out, I let Linger look after you and did not see any of you after returning, so one thought that you all went out together. Only you and Imperial Physician Gao?" Luotan nodded her head. "Did younger Biao brother go out to buy things?" Shun Qiu asked. "Even if he went out to look for someone, it is already late so he should be back." In order to exchange information, the Shun family would return to the Shun mansion in the evening to narrate the results of today's search. Even if Luo Ling himself went out to look for someone, he should be back by now. Could it be that he found her? Luotan's heart moved. Could it be that older brother Ling had found youngest Biao's sister, so he came back late? Shun Qiu and Luo Shuiyan were surprised for a moment before a look of joy appeared on their faces. It would be good if it was like this. But just at this moment, A flustered voice was heard from outside. Not good. Not good. Everyone looked over and the person who came was Luo Ling's subordinate. He was covered in blood as he said, "Not good. Something has happened to young Master Ling." Chapter 572. Not good. Something has happened to young Master Ling. Everyone hurriedly walked out and saw someone supporting Luo Ling in. Luo Ling's right hand was full of fresh blood, and it was a ghastly sight. Older brother Ling. Luo Tan jumped in shock and saw that Luo Ling was being supported by someone. Even though he tried his best to endure the pain, his face was very pale and big drops of sweat rolled down from his forehead. Imperial Physician Gao. Luo Shuiyan quickly said. Trouble you to take a look at Luo Ling. Gao Yang had a helpless expression on his face. He originally thought that Luo Tan would be able to jump around now and his task would be completed. One did not think that there would be another difficult to treat one. Could it be that they really treated him as a sitting physician? Even though he thought so in his heart, he did not show it on his face. Gao Yang said, "Help him into the room. I will take a look at him." When Luo Ling and Gao Yang entered the bedroom, Shen Xian angrily said to the subordinate who helped Luo Ling back, "What exactly happened? How did Linger get such a serious injury without rhyme or reason?" That subordinate was almost about to cry. A group of us received a tip-off that someone seemed to have seen young Lady Shen's whereabouts. Young Master Ling brought us along to look for her, and later someone sent a note, asking young Master Ling to go alone. Who knew that it was a trap? Those people seemed to be planning to scheme against young Master Chiu, but did not expect that it was young Master Ling who came. Young Master Ling fought with them and those people launched a sneak attack and injured young Master Ling's right hand. That subordinate paused and revealed a worried expression. Young Master Ling had injured his right hand once when he was training his troops in the early years and it was considered to have healed. But today the knife wound was on top of the old injury and young Master Ling immediately did not feel well. Afterwards when our people rushed over, young Master Ling was like this. Luo Shuiyan and Shen Xian did not know that Luo Ling's right hand was injured before, and when they heard it, they looked at Luo Tan and asked, "Linger was injured before?" Luo Tan nodded her head. When one was young, one went hunting with eldest bow and was chased by wild beasts in the mountains and fell down the mountain. Coincidentally, his hand was scratched by a sharp stone. The injury was very serious, and at that time all the doctors said that older brother Ling's hand would not be able to be saved. One did not think that older brother Ling was able to pull through. Everyone was aware of the seriousness of the matter. If Luo Ling had suffered such a serious injury in the past, now that he was injured, one feared that it would be even worse. Shen Qiu said, "Just who is scheming behind the scenes? Did you all see clearly who the other party is?" The subordinate shook his head and said, "Those people's martial arts are very good, and they don't look like normal villains. Their martial arts are above young Master Ling's. There's something fishy about this." Shen Xian said in a deep voice, "First it was Jiao Jiao, then it was Chou'er. It is obviously targeted at our entire Shen family. Damn it. If I don't find this person and skin him alive, my surname isn't Shen." Luo Tan said, "The most important thing now is to take a look at Brother Ling's injuries." Luo Tan was a little anxious. His injuries are so serious. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became tense. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Gao Yang came out of his bedroom and closed the door. Everyone looked at him eagerly. Luo Tan couldn't wait to go forward and ask, "Dr. Gao, how is Brother Ling?" Gao Yang said, "I've already applied medicine for him. It's a deep knife wound and there's poison on it. Although it's not a fatal poison and I've helped him detoxify it, but what?" Shen Qiu asked. But young Master Luo's hand was injured in the early years, and this time it is a chronic illness. The injury is not light, and in the future when he recovers, one feared that he would not be able to use his right hand to lift heavy things. Luo Tan took 2 steps back and suddenly looked at Gao Yang. Unable to lift heavy things? What about weapons? Gao Yang shook his head. Chapter 573. Luo Shuiyan accidentally broke the cup and Shen Xian and Shen Qiu sucked in a mouthful of cold air at the same time. Luo Ling was a child of a military family, and this time Luo Sui let him follow Shen Xian back to the capital. It was to let him train in the Ding capital so that in the future when they returned to the Shaochun city, it would be easier for him to take over the Luo family's army. Luo Ling also practiced martial arts since young, and now to let a person who practiced martial arts since young to not be able to use his right hand, it was almost like crippling the other party's martial arts. To Luo Ling it was a big blow. Impossible. Impossible. Luo Tan went forward and grabbed Gao Yang's sleeves as she said anxiously, previously when older brother Ling was injured, those physicians also said that older brother Ling could not use his right hand, but later on older brother Ling recovered. Aren't you the best physician? When you saved me, didn't those physicians also said that I could not be saved? If you can save me, then you can definitely save my older brother Ling's right hand, right? Luo Tan and Luo Ling's relationship was very good, and they grew up together so naturally she was unable to accept it. Gao Yang pulled back his sleeves and patiently said, "Young lady Luo, it is not that this one is not willing to save. It is because your older brother's injury is too serious." He said, to say something that would make young lady sad. This one say that one cannot treat, no one in this world can save. These words almost cut off everyone's last hope, and also meant that in the future Luo Ling could no longer use his right hand to hold a sword. How can it be? Luo Shuiyan almost fainted. How can I explain to eldest brother and eldest Sa? Does younger Biao brother already know about his own injury? Shen Qiu asked. Gao Yang nodded his head and said, compared to young Master Luo's injury, this one think that it is better to concern young Master Luo's emotions these few days. But for a person who suffered such a sudden change, it is inevitable that his heart would be hurt, especially young Master Luo who is proud and arrogant. This matter to him is no different from a disaster, and if one does not persuade him, one fear that it would attract unnecessary trouble, and it would not be beneficial to the recovery of the injury. Finishing, Gao Yang picked up the medicine box at the side and said, this one need to make a trip back to the palace and need to prepare a few medicinal herbs. Later one will come back to the residence to perform acupuncture on young Master Luo. One will not stay any longer and bid one farewell. These few days Gao Yang had been staying in the Shen mansion, and indeed he had not returned to the Imperial Hospital for a long time. Luo Shuiyan nodded her head. These days we have troubled Imperial Physician Gao. Chower, go send Imperial Physician Gao off. I'll go, Luo Tan said, then grabbed Gao Yang's sleeve and dragged him out of the mansion. Gao Yang glared at Luo Tan's slightly deformed sleeve. Luo Tan only stopped when they reached the entrance of the mansion. Luo Tan looked at him and hesitated for a moment before asking, Dr. Gao, is my brother Ling's right hand really hopeless? Gao Yang said helplessly, I never lie. Luo Tan's expression showed some despair, and after a moment she said, since that is the case, thank you for helping me to cover up the matter in Prince Rui's residence. Cover up? Gao Yang looked at her in surprise. When did I say that I would cover up for you? Luo Tan stared at him dumbfounded. Did you lie for me in front of little aunt and uncle? I'm just pushing the boat along with the current. I'll discuss this matter with Miss Luo in detail when I think of the conditions of the transaction in the future. Gao Yang did not care about Luo Tan's sudden change in expression as he looked outside and said, TSK, it is too late. This one must leave first. See you another day, Miss Luo. He cupped his hands and left. After calling him Dr. Luo so many times, if Luo Tan did not suffer a bit, Gao Yang would definitely not agree. Just as he thought about it, he heard a sound of grinding teeth behind him. Have a safe journey, Dr. Gao. Gao Yang almost stumbled and fell. When Gao Yang's figure could no longer be seen, Luo Tan then sighed and prepared to return to the residence with a heavy heart, but saw a horse carriage rushing over from the other side. This horse carriage looked a little too gorgeous. Now that the sky was somewhat dark, Luo Tan could not see clearly. She only saw that the horse carriage stopped at the entrance of the Shen mansion and two people walked out. Chapter 574. Luo Tan rubbed her eyes, and after making sure that she did not see wrongly, she suddenly exclaimed, Biao youngest sister. Shen Miao was sent back by Princess Rong Xian's personal female official, Lu Shi, and upon reaching the door, she first heard Luo Tan's shout. Previously when she heard Xie Jingxing say that Luo Tan's injuries were extremely serious, Shen Miao was very worried in her heart, but upon hearing her shout, she was relieved. Luo Tan's shout directly alarmed Shen Xian and entourage inside. Everyone rushed over, and were somewhat in disbelief when they saw Shen Miao. Luo Shuiyan was stunned for 2 seconds before quickly stepping forward and hugging Shen Miao. Hot tears flowed down Jiao Jiao. As if he just reacted. Shen Qiu also quickly ran over and shouted excitedly, "Younger sister, you have finally returned." Shen Xian also wanted to go forward. Shen Miao swept a glance at the surroundings. Because it was already late in the evening and because of Shen Xian's search, most of the commoners did not go out at night. Thus no one saw anyone coming over from the Shen mansion. Shen Miao said, "Let's return to the residence first before talking. In addition, do not make this matter known." Even though Shen Xian had some doubts, he also gave Shen Qiu a look. Shen Qiu quickly complied and went out to instruct the servants outside before the entourage entered the residence. When they reached the hall, Luo Tan asked, "Biao youngest sister, what is going on? And this person is?" She looked towards Lu Shi. Lu Shi bowed to everyone. After all, she was a female official by Princess Rong Xian's side. Her every move was in accordance with etiquette and did not look like an ordinary person. She said, "This servant is a female official by Her Princess Highness's side. The day before yesterday, Her Princess Highness's guards saved young Lady Shen from the hands of the evildoers. Her Princess Highness was afraid that young Lady Shen would not be able to explain clearly, and let this servant send young Lady Shen off. Now that the person has been sent off, this servant should return." 2 years ago at the Lantern Festival, Shen Miao was saved by Princess Rong Xian once, and 2 years later she was saved by Princess Rong Xian again. If it was said to be a coincidence, it would make one think too much. Shen Xian and Luo Shuiyan were somewhat puzzled and wanted to say something more when they saw Shen Miao standing up and smiling at Lu Shi. Many thanks to Shigugu for these few days' matters. One hoped that Shigugu would help this official's daughter to thank Her Princess Highness. Shen Miao will remember your Princess Highness's life-saving grace, and dare not forget it. In the future, I will definitely pay a visit to express my gratitude. Lu Shi quickly moved sideways to avoid Shen Miao's greeting and smiled. One do not dare. Since young lady and Her Princess Highness are old acquaintances, there is no need to stand on ceremony. This servant will return first. Young Lady Shen, take good care of your body. Tomorrow, Her Highness Princess will explain to the capital governor. Shen Miao thanked again, and after sending off Lu Shi, everyone finally could not help it as Shen Qiu asked, "Younger sister, what exactly is going on?" Just now from the conversation between Shen Miao and Lu Shi, everyone could see that Shen Miao clearly already had her own idea. Shen Xian and Luo Shuiyan now understood Shen Miao's character the best. Shen Miao was a young lady with big ideas and most likely already had other plans. Shen Miao smiled, "Nothing much. That day the person who kidnapped me actually implicated me in another matter and kidnapped the wrong person. Later, when they were about to send me out, they happened to meet the people from the princess's residence. The guards of the princess residence had seen me before, and they felt that something was wrong, so they saved me. Afterwards I explained the matter clearly to Princess Rong Xian, and Her Princess Highness intended to help me clarify. She temporarily did not want to tell the matter to Shen Xian, because it involved Princess Ming'an. The Qin country and Ming Qi's current power was complicated, and if Shen Xian was not good, it would be hard for him to get away. She had painstakingly managed it, and it was not easy for the current Shen family to gradually move away from those messy whirlpools, so how could the same mistakes of the previous lifetime repeat? Most importantly, this excuse was something that she and Xie Jingxing had discussed before. Even though she did not know what Xie Jingxing would do at the end, but Shen Miao thought that with Xie Jingxing's means, Princess Ming'an and the Xie brothers would definitely suffer a big loss. Since it was like this, it would not be good for Shen Xian to intervene. Chapter 575. Shen Xian frowned. "Jiao Jiao, tell father honestly, does this matter have anything to do with Princess Ming'an?" Shen Miao's heart jumped. Shen Xian was not a fool. They had just returned to the Ding capital, and those people deliberately abducted Shen Miao because of personal grudges. And from the time the Shen family returned to the Ding capital till now, if one were to talk about who they offended, it would most likely be that arrogant and despotic princess of the Qin country. If it was the Qing country's people, it was not that they would not do such a daring move. Shen Miao said, "What is father thinking about? This is Mingqi's territory, and even if Princess Ming'an wanted to deal with me, the crown prince of the Qing country is not a fool. How would he let her stir up trouble at this juncture?" Seeing that Shen Exen and Luo Shuiyan still did not believe, Shen Miao simply raised her arms and said in a sweet voice, "That day they threw me out of the horse carriage and my hands were in pain and my stomach was very hungry. Mother, I want to eat something." When Luo Shuiyan heard this, she could not care about anything else and immediately felt extremely distressed. She instructed the kitchen to prepare some snacks and at the same time let the maids support Shen Miao back to the courtyard to rest. Most likely Luo Shuiyan was distressed for Shen Miao, so she personally went to the kitchen to prepare some soup. Shen Exen frowned as he pulled Shen Qiu over to do something. Luo Tan and Shen Miao returned to the room together, and seeing Shen Miao sitting down on the couch, Luo Tan said, "Biao, youngest sister, you were lying just now. Actually it was that Duke Ming'an who took the initiative to do this, right?" Shen Miao's heart jumped as she thought, when did Luo Tan become smart, and asked, "Why do you say so?" Luo Tan rubbed her arms and pretended to be unable to bear it. "Just now you acted coquettishly and really gave me a layer of goosebumps. You were clearly acting coquettishly, and with one look it was done perfunctorily to please Gu Fu and Gu Fu. It is because they dote on you that you diverted." Shen Miao laughed and sized up Luo Tan again. "I heard that you suffered a serious injury. Why did you get off the bed now and not recuperate?" Luo Tan waved her hands. "That Dr. Gao from the palace has brilliant medical skills and was able to revive the dead and regrow the bones. Speaking of which," she looked at Shen Miao with bright eyes, "this afternoon I just sought help from His Highness Prince Rue and begged him to save you. His Highness Prince Rue is indeed resourceful. This speed is unexpected, and I thought that I would have to wait for a few more days. So in fact that Lu Shi Gugu is also fake?" Luo Tan sighed. "This Prince Rue of the Great Liang is really thoughtful." Shen Miao. Xie Jingxing had already rescued Shen Miao before Luo Tan went to the residence of Prince Rue. So when Luo Tan went, one feared that Shen Miao was already in the princess residence. The pitiful Luo Tan really thought that Xie Jingxing had such a great ability. Xie Jingxing was not an immortal. How could he possibly save people in such a short time? Shen Miao secretly criticized in her heart, but did not correct Luo Tan's words. She thought of something and said, "But why haven't I seen Cousin Ling?" She asked, "Did Cousin Ling go out?" Luo Tan's happy expression instantly dimmed. When Shen Miao saw it, she was somewhat puzzled and asked, "Why do you have such an expression?" "Something happened to Cousin Ling." Luo Tan's voice was somewhat obscure. "Gao Yang said that he would not be able to use his right hand in this lifetime. Go and take a look." In the residence of the Marquis of Lin, and Xie Chongwu was also very anxious. After returning from the banquet with Xie Ding, there was no trace of Xie Chongchao. Not only was there no trace of Xie Chongchao in the secret room, there was also no trace of Shen Miao. After looking carefully, there were no traces of fighting in the entire secret room, which made Xie Chongwu feel even more puzzled. Even though it was because of Shen Exen that Shen Miao could not be sent out, but now the captives had indeed disappeared without a trace. Princess Ming'an sent someone over to ask when Shen Miao could be sent out, so Xie Chongwu could only be perfunctory on the surface, but his heart was burning with anxiety. Chapter 576. However, no matter how he searched, even sending out people, even searching the places that Xie Chongchao was most used to, Xie Chongchao and Shen Miao seemed to have evaporated from the world. Not a single trace was left behind. He did not know why, but the longer time passed, the more uneasy Xie Chongwu's heart became. He tried to inquire about the formidable great general Shen family's news, but there was no news of Shen Miao's whereabouts. This made Xie Chongwu's heart slightly comforted, as at least it was not the people who came to save Shen Miao that took Xie Chongwu away. But as time passed, even Xie Ding became suspicious and asked why Xie Chongchao was not seen for a day. Xie Chongwu could only say that Xie Chongchao went out of the city to hunt with his friends, and when Madame Feng asked, she also said the same. Princess Ming'an had already sent people over to question, and if the Xie brothers did not take any action, then Shen Miao would be handed over to her to personally deal with. Xie Chongwu had unspeakable bitterness in his heart, not to mention Shen Miao. Even Xie Chongchao was nowhere to be seen. If Princess Mingyan knew about it, she would blame him for not doing things well, and not only would she not put in a good word for both of them in front of Fu Xiaoyi, one fear that they would suffer more. It was really a dilemma. For the first time, Xie Chongwu regretted accepting such a hot potato. In any case, Xie Chongwu had to send people to continue searching for Xie Chongchao's whereabouts. Speaking of it, it was also ironic. A few days ago when they kidnapped Shen Miao, the Shen family searched the entire city for Shen Miao, and now it was Xie Chongwu who searched the entire city for Xie Chongchao's whereabouts. Thus there was some retribution. Xie Chongwu naturally did not know that the brother that he was searching for was now in Xie Jingxing's hands. Tai Yi followed behind the purple-robed youth and said, Xie Chongchao's corpse is kept in the tower prison in an ice coffin. When will master use it? Leave it first, there is no rush. Xie Jingxing said. Such a good thing, one cannot waste it. He slowly walked back to the residence and just entered the courtyard. He saw Ji Yushu wearing a purple robe and a silver mask on his face, chasing that white tiger called Jiao Jiao all over the house. As he chased, he said, Little brat, do you not recognize who this prince is? Open your dog eyes wide and look carefully. Obediently come to this king. Tai Yi's face trembled non-stop. Sometimes one had to say that Ji Yushu was a talent. No matter where he was, he could still laugh and scold as if he was an idiot. This kind of thing of disguising as Xie Jingxing to tease a tiger, most likely only Ji Yushu who was so free. The white tiger was avoiding Ji Yushu's warm embrace, and when it suddenly saw Xie Jingxing and Tai Yi coming over, it turned around halfway and suddenly rushed towards Xie Jingxing and bit on the corner of Xie Jingxing's robe as it shook its head happily. Xie Jingxing bent over to carry the white tiger and looked at the remaining Xie Jingxing in the courtyard. He said with a smile that was not a smile, Did you have fun while I was not around? Xie 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 he he xie. The fake Xie Jingxing took off his mask and revealed Ji Yushu's sweaty face. Ji Yushu panted as he waved his hands, Third older brother, it is not that I deliberately want to impersonate you. Today a young lady came to look for you for help and Gao Yang wanted me to disguise as you. But I guarantee that my disguise was quite good. When that young lady saw me, she knelt down without a second word and even kowtowed to me. Ji Yushu felt wronged and worried. One do not know if one's life would be shortened. Young lady. Xie Jingxing raised his brows and looked at Tai Yi. Tai Yi quickly said, In the afternoon, Luo family's Biao young lady and gentleman Gao came over. At that time young Master Ji pretended to be you and agreed to Luo family's Biao young lady's request. Afterwards both of them left. Ji Yushu emphasized, It was Gao Yang who wanted me to do it. Just as he was speaking, he heard Tai Yi say, Gentleman Gao is here. Chapter 577. One saw a white-clad person walking in from outside. If it was not Gao Yang, who else could it be? But one did not know if it was their misconception. Gao Yang's white clothes did not look as clean and new as before, and his face was somewhat haggard. In the afternoon, Ji Yushu was so busy being frightened by Luo Tan's kowtows that he did not look at Gao Yang's appearance carefully. Now that he saw it, he said in surprise, Gao Yang, why do you look like you have aged by 10 years? Originally, when Gao Yang and Xie Jingxing stood together, even though he wasn't as handsome as Xie Jingxing, he was still considered an elegant young master. But now that he was standing beside Xie Jingxing, he had a somewhat dejected appearance. Do not mention it. Gao Yang said, These few days I have been in the Shen mansion helping to treat that young lady of the Luo family. Do you really think that I am a doctor? As he said that, there was some indignation on his face. I am not a doctor. I am an imperial physician. I'll treat others. Ji Yushu did not care about him and looked at Xie Jingxing. Found fifth Shen young lady? Xie Jingxing nodded his head. Ji Yushu gave a long sigh of relief, scared me to death. If such a good person like fifth Shen young lady were to be tricked by others, one fear that I would not be able to sleep well. Xie Jingxing looked at him coldly. Oh? You are very familiar with Shan Miao? Ji Yushu instinctively sensed danger and shook his head subconsciously. He only felt that Xie Jingxing's gaze had a deeper meaning and quickly said, Third older brother, do you not have friendship with her? I am not worried about her, I am worried about you. Now that you have rescued her, my heart is very comforted. One think that fifth Shen young lady would be very grateful to you. Lackey. Gao Yang said in disdain. None of your business. Ji Yushu retorted sarcastically. Gao Yang took a deep breath and changed into a serious expression as he asked Xie Jingxing, was it Princess Mingyan's hands? In fact, in the Ding capital, other than Princess Mingyan, there was really no one else who had the guts to take action against Shen Miao. If others wanted to touch Shen Miao, they would have to weigh the Shen family. Everyone knew that Shen Xian doted on his daughter to the point of being obedient. To touch Shen Miao, it was no doubt plucking the tiger's hair. And there would be endless troubles. Only a brainless female like Princess Mingyan would not care about the consequences, but to be so daring, it really made one exclaim in admiration. Not only. Xie Jingxing said plainly, Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao also participated. Are they crazy? Gao Yang could not hide his astonishment. Even if Princess Mingyan promised benefits, how could Xie Chongwu and Xie Chongqiao be willing to risk their lives? When people do things, they would have a scale in their heart and the risk and return would be balanced. But Xie Chongqiao and Xie Chongwu's move was not worth it, and Gao Yang was unable to understand. The two Xie brothers did not hesitate to become enemies with the Shen family in order to climb up, but they only cared about the present and did not think about the future? It's probably because he has lived a comfortable life for too long that he doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Xie Jingxing's smile was a little cold. An idiot who has been like this for 10 years. Gao Yang and Ji Yushu were silent. At this moment, they felt the chill that was emitted from Xie Jingxing's body. After silently mourning for the Xie brothers for a moment, Gao Yang opened his mouth. Actually, this time when Princess Mingyan took action, it was not only Shen Miao. Xie Jingxing turned around and frowned. What do you mean? They also had the intention to scheme against Shen Qiu. Today in the Shen mansion, I heard that someone used Shen Miao's whereabouts to set a trap for Shen Qiu. And after Shen Qiu fell into the trap, they waited for an opportunity to take action against Shen Qiu. Those people's martial arts were very strong, and should be experts trained by the imperial court. After thinking about it, most likely it was Princess Mingyan's doing. Not only did they want to destroy Shen Miao, they also wanted to destroy Shen Qiu. Shen Miao and Shen Qiu were the younger generation of the Shen family, and as long as these two people were destroyed, it would be difficult for the Shen family to stand up again. Moreover, with Shen Miao and Shen Qiu's sibling relationship, if in the future Shen Miao returned and knew that Shen Qiu had fallen into such a predicament because of her, one feared that he would blame himself for a lifetime. There was no punishment more painful than living in pain. Princess Mingyan was indeed vicious and merciless. Xie Jingxing's countenance was slightly moved as he asked, what was the result? Shen Qiu was not fooled. Gao Yang said. Xie Jingxing's gaze then eased up, but before he could speak again, Gao Yang's words rang in his ears. But, even though Shen Qiu was not fooled, the Biaoyang master of the Luo family in the Shen mansion was not very good. Those people thought that Shen Qiu was called out, but in fact it was Luoling. Luoling's martial arts were not as good as Shen Qiu's, and did not end up well in those people's hands. Xie Jingxing raised his brows. How is he now? Not very good. Gao Yang said, even with my medical skills I am also helpless. In this lifetime, most likely he would not be able to use his right hand to hold a sword. Xie Jingxing was startled, and his good-looking brows gradually sank as his gaze turned cold. Chapter 578. On this day the weather was warm. The sun was just right outside, and in the eastern courtyard of the Shen residence, Chen Roqiu was sitting and chatting with Shen Yu. These days, because Chen Roqiu let Shen Yu start to choose a son-in-law, Shen Yu had quarreled with Chen Roqiu several times. But the usually gentle Chen Roqiu showed extreme toughness for the first time. Shen Yu had no choice and could only follow Chen Roqiu to socialize with a cold face. Over time there was a rift between mother and daughter. It was somewhat rare for them to sit together peacefully today. Heard that Shen Miao was kidnapped and there is no news of her until now. Shen Yu picked up a fruit from the porcelain plate on the table and ate it while showing a gloating mood. One do not know if she is still alive or not? Chen Roqiu frowned. She had always wanted to train Shen Yu to not be affected by favor or humiliation, at least to look gentle and elegant in front of others. But compared to the younger Chen Roqiu, Shen Yu was lacking in calmness. It was still alright outside, but in the room, any emotions would be revealed, making Chen Roqiu worried. Who would kidnap her? Xinyu muttered. Eldest Bo has a lot of enemies in the Ding capital, and one do not know who was the one who took action this time. Since one dared to take such a risk, one must have a deep hatred with Shen Miao. One would not target other families and only kidnap Shen Miao meant that they were targeting Shen Miao. Chan Roqiu said. Moreover, the Shun family's army had searched outside for so many days without any news of her whereabouts. The other party had hidden very well. This time Shen Miao is fraught with grim possibilities. Hearing that, Shen Yu first had some fear on her face, but she suddenly thought of something and smiled. Speaking of which, I would rather she was alive. She did not continue speaking. After being kidnapped for so long, if she was alive, she would have suffered a lot of inhumane torture. The invisible rumors in the world were the most hurtful. If Shen Miao died, all troubles would end and one would not care about what happened before one's death. But if she was alive, who knew what ugly things would be said? How many young ladies in the Ding capital were kidnapped and rescued by bad people? Even though their lives were saved, at the end they could not stand the criticism from the crowd and perished. Moreover, Shen Miao was the daughter of the formidable great general. Chan Roqiu glanced at Shen Yu and sighed. No matter what, this is ultimately her matter. You haven't spoken to your father these days. How long are you going to be angry for? If one were to say that Shen Yu was busy with the matter of choosing a son-in-law, then Shen Yu had some resentment towards Chan Roqiu. Then towards Shen Wan, Shen Yu had some resentment. From the mouths of the servants, one knew that it was Shen Wan who made Chan Roqiu hurriedly settle the marriage for Shen Yu. Thus Shen Yu pushed all the blame onto Shen Wan and wholeheartedly thought that Shen Wan wanted her to marry early for the sake of his career, so that the third household would have an additional in-laws. Thus for these few days, Shen Yu did not speak to Shen Wan. At this moment when she heard Chan Roqiu say that, Shen Yu said impatiently, "Father is not seen all day, how can I talk to him?" Finishing, she turned her head away in a fit of pique and no longer cared about Chan Roqiu. Chan Roqiu was slightly startled and suddenly remembered that what Shen Yu said was not wrong. These days one did not know if it was because the official matters were too busy that Chan Roqiu and Shen Wan's meeting time was shorter. In the past, he would gently recite poems every 3 to 5 days, but these days Shen Wan was somewhat absent-minded. Chan Roqiu sighed in her heart. Old Shen Foreign was pressing Shen Wan to take in concubines, and if the husband and wife became estranged, then she would have to face the biggest crisis. Chan Roqiu did not know that at this moment Shen Wan, who was busy with official matters in her eyes, was playing chess with Song Ziqing in the western courtyard of the Shan residence. Song Ziqing was wearing a green pipa top and a light yellow palace satin plain snow silk skirt. Her hair was in a cool bun, making her look especially refined and gentle. The tea that she brewed was extremely tasty, and Shen Wan, who loved tea, would often come here to ask her for tea. When he came to ask for tea, Song Ziqing would like to ask Shen Wan some questions about the chess game. As time went by, Shen Wan would often come here to play chess with Song Ziqing and drink tea. Chapter 579. Song Ziqing asked with a smile, "A few days ago one heard that 5th Shen young lady was abducted. One do not know if she was found or not. Currently there is no whereabouts." Shen Wan shook his head. Song Ziqing then sighed. Such an accident happened to a perfectly good young lady. According to Third Master's view, was 5th Shen young lady harmed by General Shan's enemies? Shen Wan said, "This is not easy to say. After all, it was only 5th lady who was abducted. But after such a long time, one fear that even if the person was rescued, it would also be." Song Ziqing's face revealed a mournful expression, but her heart was secretly delighted. She did not know why, but when facing Shen Miao, she would have an instinctive fear. Perhaps it was because the words that Shen Miao said to her last time made her hair stand, or perhaps Shen Miao could see through her thoughts too clearly. No matter what, with such a person around, Song Ziqing's heart would not be at ease. Now hearing Shen Wan say that, she was very happy. Regarding Shen Miao's matter, there were people in Kai Yun Yuan and the Shun residents discussing it. Wan Yinyang said, "I originally felt that it was not good for Dongling to stay in the residence all day, but now it seems that I am relieved. There are so many kidnappers on the streets and you are so good looking. If you were to be abducted, then Yinyang could only spend the rest of her life crying." As she spoke, she stopped the needlework in her hands and said, One do not know if fifth young lady is dead or alive? Shun Dongling, who was helping Wan Yinyang with the embroidery stool, smiled when she heard that. Yinyang, that is not something that kidnappers can do. Wan Yinyang's eyes widened. Why? How would there be kidnappers who would blatantly abduct people on the streets? Even if there is, one would not abduct a young lady of an official's family. Especially with one look, one can see that one has a great background. One cannot guarantee how much trouble it would bring to oneself in the future. Those people were obviously targeting fifth younger sister. I think that they are most likely the enemies of the first household, and it was just a coincidence that fifth younger sister encountered them. Even though Shen Dongling said it as such, there was not much sorrow on her face, as if she was talking about other people's family matters. Wan Yinyang sighed. Fifth young lady's life is considered finished. She reincarnated into such a good family but did not enjoy her life and wasted her luck. Not necessarily. Shun Dongling smiled sweetly. Fifth younger sister has always had the help of a benefactor, and can always turn misfortunes into blessings. Who knows if there will be a benefactor to save her from the water and fire this time? Even with the help of a benefactor, now that things have become like this, what else can be done? Wan Yinyang did not agree with Shun Dongling's words. Just as she was speaking, she saw Shun Dongling's personal maid Xinghua hurriedly walking in from outside, as if she had something to say. Yinyang, third young lady, this servant just heard from outside that fifth young lady was sent back to the Shun mansion by Princess Rong Xian's carriage. She is safe and sound and very well. Yinyang see, Shun Dongling smiled. I already said, fifth younger sister's ability is very great. Naturally there will be a benefactor helping her. There was finally news of Shen Miao, who was kidnapped by the bandits a few days later, and she was even personally sent back by Princess Rong Xian's personal female official. There was another layer of uproar in the Ding capital. It was because after Shen Miao was kidnapped by the bandits wanted to transport Shen Miao out of the city, but it was a pity that the Shun family's military was too strict. While the bandits were transporting Shen Miao escaped by herself and fell and fainted after injuring her leg, but accidentally bumped into the guards of the princess residence. The guards sent Shan Miao back to the princess residence, and Shan Miao then saw Princess Rong Xian after she woke up. There was no news these few days because Shen Miao had not woken up and the people in the princess residence did not know her identity, thus they did not dare to randomly identify her. In the end, Shen Miao was still a pure and good young lady, and this time there was no danger. Chapter 580. Perhaps there were some doubtful voices, but most of the people did not doubt this statement because the person who spoke was the most unreasonable, but also the most just Princess Rong Xian and Ming Qi. Since Princess Rong Xian had spoken, there should not be any problems. But what was strange was that even though the words had been spoken, it was all rumors outside and Shen Miao did not appear in front of everyone. Some people said that it was because Shen Miao was seriously injured that she was unable to appear now. Some people said that it was because the Shen family wanted to protect Shen Miao well, and did not dare to let her leave the residence easily, in case she met with evil people again. In any case, Shen Miao had returned to the Shen residence, but no one saw it with their own eyes. And at this moment Shen Miao was standing in front of Luo Ling's room in the Shen mansion. Luo Tan's words echoed in her ears. Biao youngest sister, go and persuade older brother Ling. Even though older brother Ling did not say it, we all know that his heart is very upset. Even though he still looks happy, he has unspeakable bitterness. We are all stupid and do not know how to comfort him. Biao youngest sister, you have read so many books and know what others are thinking in their heart. If you go and persuade older brother Ling should listen to you. Previously in the Shaochun city, whatever you say, older brother Ling would go along with it. This time it is the Luo family begging you. Shen Miao sighed in her heart and hesitated for a moment before finally knocking on the door. Who? Someone asked inside. It is me, older brother Ling. After a moment of silence, someone said, come in. Shen Miao walked in with the bamboo basket in her hands. Upon entering the room, she placed the bamboo basket on the desk. There was a celadone bowl at the corner of the desk and there were some brown marks at the bottom of the bowl, which was the medicine that Luo Ling drank just now. Luo Ling was sitting in front of the table, and there were some books on the table, so he should be reading. His face was slightly pale and his hand was wrapped in bandages as he looked at her with a smile. Biao youngest sister has come. As the eldest grandson of the Luo family, Luo Ling was the most gentle and steady one among the 4 juniors. He seemed to be a real gentleman and was different from Pei Lang, who had a selfish and cold personality. Luo Ling was a person who could easily warm others. After Luo Ling knew that Shen Miao had returned safely, naturally he was happy for Shen Miao but did not mention a word about his right hand being injured. Even when they were eating and talking, they were still generous and gentle, as if they had never experienced this. If he did not say it, no one would dare to mention it, but the calmer Luo Ling appeared, the more uneasy it made others feel. That was why Luo Tan came to beg Shen Miao, hoping that she could help to persuade Luo Ling. I brought you some cakes. Shen Miao smiled and took out the plate of pastries from the bamboo basket. I added milk and honey. Most likely it will be good for your injuries. She was the first person to directly say injury to Luo Ling. Luo Ling paused slightly before smiling. But I just drank the medicine and cannot eat it now. Younger Biao sister, leave it here. After a while, I will taste younger Biao sister's cooking. Can't eat? Shen Miao looked at him and asked, or can't eat? Luo Ling's action of holding the book trembled before he raised his head and smiled. What do you mean? You won't be angry because I didn't eat the cake immediately, will you? Shen Miao sat down opposite Luo Ling. Luo Ling made her think of a person, Wan Yu. Luo Ling's temperament was gentle and tolerant, and would not haggle over it after suffering a loss. This was almost the same as Wan Yu. In the beginning, perhaps it was because she knew that Shen Miao was not in Fu Xiuyi's favor, or perhaps it was because she understood the hardships of life in the palace. Even though Wan Yu was a princess of the imperial court, she did not have any arrogance at all. Afterwards, Mei Foreign instigated Fu Xiuyi to marry Wan Yu to the Xiongnu. Fu Xiuyi threatened with the righteousness of the world, and Shen Miao was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Wan Yu in turn comforted her. The grasslands is very good. I have not been to the grasslands in my entire life. If one were to encounter something new, one would definitely write to Imperial Mother, and let Imperial Mother see the beautiful scenery of the grasslands. Chapter 581. To never mention one's sufferings and instead smile at those who care about one. This was Wan Yu, and this was also Luo Ling. Shen Miao said, "Is it so difficult to admit that one's heart is not happy and did not put it down, feel wronged, angry and resentful?" Luo Ling was startled. Older brother Ling seems to not intend to blame anything. Shen Miao said, "Not planning to blame others means that one is planning to blame oneself?" Luo Ling stared at Shen Miao for a while and suddenly smiled bitterly. "Younger Biao sister, must you speak so directly? It is older Biao brother that is too roundabout." Shen Miao said, "Same as your feelings. You do not blame others but blame yourself. Similarly, you do not say anything and do not mention anything. Do you want me to blame myself for a lifetime or be unable to be at peace for the rest of my life?" Luo Ling was startled. "Younger Biao sister, older brother Ling, do you think that by acting as if nothing happened, everyone will feel relaxed and ignore the injury on your right hand and everything will be happy? No. If you hide it in your heart, you will not be happy and everyone will not be happy." Shen Miao's voice was very gentle, but the words that she said were very sharp. She said, "Life is only a short few decades and compromising is a way to live, but sometimes it is not bad to be a little presumptuous. Why is there a need to wrong yourself for others? If you are not happy, you can say it out. You can be angry, hate or complain. This is not a big deal." Most likely it was the first time he heard such a saying that Luo Ling was somewhat unable to accept it. It was as if it was the first time he knew Shen Miao as he carefully sized her up. Towards this younger Biao sister, Luo Ling's feeling was that she had a clear distinction between love and hate. She was young but had a big bearing and looked gentle but stubborn. But these words made Luo Ling have a new understanding of Shen Miao. In her bones there was a kind of disdain towards worldly etiquette. It was as if the so-called kindness and righteousness were not worth mentioning in her eyes. "Who should I hate? Blame who? Angry at who?" Luo Ling asked. "You can blame me because it was because of me that you were tricked by others. You can hate the mastermind because it was those people who caused you to be injured. You can even be angry that none of the doctors in the entire Ding capital are able to treat your injury, and are all quack doctors who deceive the world. The only one that you should not blame is yourself. Shen Miao said, good people blame themselves and bad people blame others, but bad people live more easily than good people. So, if you can make yourself happier, what's so sad about blaming others? Luo Ling laughed and said, Biao youngest sister, are you comforting me? Yeah. Shen Miao said, I have said so much so that you do not bury everything in your heart. Luo Ling sighed, correct. After this matter, my heart is indeed unhappy and uncomfortable. However, aunt and uncle were already blaming themselves, so I couldn't add insult to injury. Tanner is worried about me. I can't let her worry all day long. I can only blame myself for not practicing martial arts hard enough. That's why I was injured. I blame myself for not being smart enough. That's why I was easily taken advantage of. Then what about you now? Shen Miao asked. Biao youngest sister's skill in persuading others is different and just happens to suit my appetite. Luo Ling teased, perhaps what you said is right. It is not because of me, and the person that I should be angry at is not myself. Being angry and hateful is not what you should do. Shen Miao said, since the right hand cannot be used, then why not try the left hand? Luo Ling was surprised for a moment. I heard that there was a general in the previous dynasty who was brave and good at fighting, but his right hand was chopped off by a local general on the battlefield. The world thought that he was depressed, but one did not think that he started to use his left hand and created the unique left-hand sword technique. Shen Miao smiled gently. What does older brother Ling think? Chapter 582. When Luo Ling heard Shen Miao's words, a strange brilliance gradually rose in his eyes. It was different from just now. It seemed that some thoughts in his heart had been aroused and his eyes became different. He looked at Shen Miao with an excited gaze. Biao younger sister's story is really good. Older Biao brother will do it better. Luo Ling laughed out loud and Luo Tan, who was eavesdropping outside, jumped in shock. It was different from the gentle smile that Luo Ling always had on his face. Even through the door one could hear the carefree laughter. What exactly did Shen Miao say to Luo Ling? Is it because Biao younger sister relied on this kind of skill that no matter what kind of predicament she encountered, she could calmly face it and walk step by step until today's undefeatable position? Luo Ling asked. Shen Miao smiled. It is still too early to talk about undefeatable position. Seems so. Shen Miao declined to comment. What Luo Ling said was not wrong, but it was also not right. It was not possible to rely on these. If a person could feel that they had fallen from the most honorable position to dust, that everything they relied on had disappeared overnight, that they had not received any return for their efforts, that their family had collapsed, that their children had died, and that all of this was because of a stubborn mistake from the very beginning, then they would know that nothing was more important than living. Not only must they must live well. One day they would be able to make a comeback, and one day they would be able to pay back what they had suffered in the past on those who had hurt them. Luo Ling blamed himself, but how could Shen Miao not blame herself? She often blamed herself for her selfishness in the previous lifetime, which caused the entire Shen family's first household to be buried with her. In this lifetime she was trying her best to mend this mistake, and it was fortunate that everything was not too late. She looked at Luo Ling and smiled. From today onwards, older brother Ling will not stay in the study to read all day. Ever since Luo Ling's right hand had an accident, Luo Ling would often stay in the study to read. It was said that it was to calm one's mind, but everyone knew that Luo Ling wanted to be alone and depressed. Biao younger sister had personally interceded, so how would I dare to read? Luo Ling smiled gently. Shen Miao nodded her head. Then I am assured. It is not enough to be assured. Luo Ling looked at her and blinked his eyes mischievously. Since this matter started because of Biao younger sister, then these pastries still need to be made. That is natural. Shen Miao replied. If Biao older brother wants to eat, just tell the maid and I will send it over. Luo Ling stared at Shen Miao. The young female in front of him was talking and smiling. She was originally delicate and pretty, and could even be said to be somewhat naive, but often gave one an extremely stable feeling. For example, today's speech, he clearly knew that she was here to persuade him, clearly knew that she was here to cheer him up. If it was someone else, Luo Ling could naturally seal his heart and face it with a smile, but facing Shen Miao, facing her outspoken and patient guidance, It was like the most gentle spring water. It was obvious that what she was doing was not a bright and good thing, but it made one feel that one would not resist. Just like an elder. Luo Ling jumped in shock at his own thoughts and found it somewhat funny. Shun Miao was only 16 and was several years younger than himself. At such an age of 16, Luo Tan would even go out to climb trees with Luo Qian. For such a young female, no matter how mature she was usually, she would not have any relation with the elders. His gaze gradually softened as he looked at Shun Miao and teased, "If in the future one cannot master the sword techniques with one's left hand, Biao younger sister must not despise me." When the words came out, Luo Ling felt that he was somewhat abrupt as the hint in those words was too strong. But he did not know why he looked at Shun Miao with some hope, as if he wanted to hear the answer that he was looking forward to from Shun Miao's mouth. Chapter 583. Shun Miao was slightly startled and faced with Luo Ling's gaze that was not the same as usual. She felt slightly embarrassed. Not to mention Luo Ling's identity or anything else. After her rebirth, Shun Miao did not have any thoughts about her marriage. If she could find a stable person to spend the rest of her life with, as long as that person respected her, so what if she loved or not? Thus Shun Miao had never thought about her husband. But Luo Ling. Shun Miao sighed in her heart. Since she had compared Luo Ling to Wan Yu, if Luo Ling really became her husband, then in the future she would die of awkwardness. She smiled and said lightly, "Older Biao brother is joking. Who in this family would dare to dislike you?" But she did not answer Luo Ling's question. The hope in Luo Ling's eyes gradually dimmed, and after a moment of silence, he smiled again. "No matter what, many thanks to younger Biao's sister for consoling." "You are welcome," Shun Miao said. "We are all one family." Shun Miao sat for a while before getting up to leave. After Shun Miao left, Luo Ling sat in front of the table and one did not know what he was thinking about. After being in a daze for a long time, he then gently sighed and a bitter smile appeared on his lips. His gaze landed on the plate of pastries at the corner of the table, and after thinking about it, he reached out to take it. But one did not know what happened, but a gust of wind suddenly blew and just happened to hit that plate. The heavy porcelain plate actually fell to the ground with a bang, and the pieces flew everywhere. At the same time, the ink box on the table was also knocked over and a lot of the ink splashed onto the pastries. It was obvious that it could not be eaten. Luo Ling was surprised for a moment and got up to take a look, but saw that the windows were tightly closed and could not help but mutter, "How can there be wind when it is closed so well?" Following that, his gaze landed on the pastries that were already contaminated by the ink and said regretfully, "What a pity." At the other end, Shun Miao returned to the room and lit up the oil lamp in the room. She then let Jingzhe and Guyu withdraw before pressing down her nausea. Luo Ling's matter was indeed an accident, as one did not think that Princess Mingyan would be so ruthless that not only did she want to deal with her, she also wanted to deal with Shan Qiu. This time, if Luo Ling did not block a calamity for Shan Qiu, one did not know what kind of encounter Shan Qiu would have. Princess Mingyan was even more arrogant than in the last lifetime, and because of a freak combination, she hated Shun Miao even more and did things without considering the consequences. This made one unable to feel at ease, and it was better to eliminate her earlier. Unfortunately, Xie Jingxing interfered in this matter. Shun Miao did not know what Xie Jingxing wanted to do, but on that day when she was sent to the princess residence by Xie Jingxing told her not to go out these days and not to let others see any traces of her. Even though one did not know how Xie Jingxing planned to take action, but now that Xie Chongqiao was already dead, one think that Xie Jingxing still had to deal with Xie Chongwu. Originally, Shun Miao had always thought that if she did not need to do it herself, it would be good to borrow a knife to kill others. But thinking that Xie Jingxing had never been a good person who would help others for free and that cunning mind, one feared that if he helped her get rid of Mingyan and Xie Chongwu today, he would give a huge price to extort them the next day, so she felt that it was not a good idea to let Xie Jingxing take action. Just as he was thinking, he saw the candlelight flicker, and a silhouette suddenly appeared on the screen. Until now, Shun Miao did not even know how to be surprised and turned her head around habitually, and indeed saw Xie Jingxing walking in from outside. Why did this person come uninvited and act so openly, as if he was strolling in his own garden? Shun Miao was somewhat stuffy but saw Xie Jingxing sitting down in front of the small table. Today he did not wear the purple gold robes that he usually wore, and wore a black brocade robe. If it was not for the silver-lined collar, he would have blended in with the knight. However, the knight was unable to hide his good looks. That pair of peach blossom eyes were shining brightly, and today it was especially sharp. There is no tea and no snacks. Xie Jingxing raised his brows. This is how you entertain guests? Shun Miao said. I did not seem to invite you. Not a guest is at least an ally. Not an ally. Xie Jingxing looked at her from the side and his lips slowly hooked up. That is also a life-saving benefactor. Shun Miao was at a loss for words. Xie Jingxing had already shamelessly claimed to be a life-saving benefactor. So what else could she say? Might as well not say it. Shun Miao looked at Xie Jingxing pouring the tea and drinking it in one gulp. She did not know why, but there was a somewhat unhappy look on her face. Shun Miao thought that Xie Jingxing did not show his emotions on his face. For example, the corners of his lips were slightly raised, but it made one feel scared. One did not know which daring person had provoked his unhappiness. Chapter 584. Shun Miao thought for a while before asking Xie Jingxing, how do you plan to deal with Princess Mingyan and Xie Chongwu? Even though she repeatedly told herself not to be curious about all of Xie Jingxing's matters, Shun Miao still could not hold it back. At that time when Xie Jingxing took away Xie Chongqiao's body, it made her feel very puzzled. She asked, do you plan to kill Xie Chongwu? Or else wait for him to scheme against me behind my back? Xie Jingxing asked back. Shun Miao rolled her eyes. Even if Xie Chongwu really wanted to scheme against Xie Jingxing, one would need to be able to do so. Not to mention that Xie Jingxing still had the noble identity of the great Liang's Prince Rui. Even when he was still the little marquis of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage, the Xie brothers did not have a good result when they crossed swords with him. That Madame Fong, who had a lot of means, could only honestly watch Xie Jingxing being unrestrained and arrogant for so many years. Actually, you do not have to kill him. You also do not have to kill Xie Chongqiao. Shun Miao said, your father, the Marquis of Lineage, has consecutively lost sons, and will definitely investigate the matter thoroughly. Perhaps you have other means, and at the end there will be some unnecessary trouble. Xie Jingxing's eyes were slightly cold. It is up to me to decide whether to kill them or not. Suddenly he glanced at Shun Miao and his lips hooked up. Now you seem to have the awareness of an ally. Why? Worried about me? His tone suddenly became a little more frivolous, but compared to the youth's frivolous attitude 2 years ago, when the more handsome Xie Jingxing did these things, it made one unable to move their eyes away. One obviously knew that it was dangerous, but it was as if one was fascinated to get close. Shun Miao moved her eyes away without batting an eyelid. I am worried that you will implicate me. Xie Jingxing sneered, and there was some rumination in his smile. No need to worry. If I have a way to protect you, then I also have a way to protect myself. One will not give trouble to others. Shun Miao felt somewhat strange in her heart as she felt that Xie Jingxing's words were insinuating something. However, there were only the two of them in the room, thus one did not know who he was insinuating to. Shun Miao only thought that she was being overly sensitive and simply followed along with his words. His Highness Prince Rui naturally has remarkable abilities. There are also areas where one cannot be compared to others. Xie Jingxing lazily said. One does not know the trick of injuring oneself to win one's heart. Shun Miao said, what? Never mind. Xie Jingxing stood up and walked to Shun Miao. He was extremely tall, and when he stood shoulder to shoulder with Shun Miao, he could not help but feel pressured. Usually when he spoke to Shun Miao, he would be inattentive or flirtatious, which diluted the pressure. But today she did not know why, or if it was Shun Miao's misperception, but she felt that Xie Jingxing's gaze was much sharper than usual. How do you want me to deal with Mingyan? He leaned close to Shun Miao and whispered in her ears. Shun Miao subconsciously took a step back, but her shoulders were held down by Xie Jingxing. His expression was somewhat strange, as if he was enduring something. Abruptly, he loosened his grip, turned around and coldly said, what do you think? Why ask me? Shun Miao said, do you already have an idea? Xie Jingxing had already taken Xie Chongqiao's body away. So Shun Miao thought that Xie Jingxing had already thought of the next step in his heart, so why would he still ask her now? That's up to you. Xie Jingxing didn't turn around. If Prince Rui were to take action, how much success would he be able to achieve? Shen Miao quickly calculated in her heart. I mean, if you were to kill Princess Ming'an, is there a guarantee that no one would be able to use it against you? Xie Jingxing paused and turned around to stare at Shen Miao for a while before suddenly smiling. Shen family's girl, you really know how to do business? Shen Miao was slightly surprised for a moment. Xie Jingxing had not called her Shen family's girl for a long time. And now that he called her that, it made Shen Miao feel that it was 2 years ago when she and Xie Jingxing first met. At that time both of them feared that they were evenly matched and were on guard against each other, and thought that they would not be in contact for the rest of their lives. One did not expect that in just 2 years' time, they were able to sit together and calmly discuss the business of silencing someone.